Chapter 269, The Most Enticing Reward. Chapter 269, The Most Enticing Reward. The 7 houses turned their heads, but the calm look on their faces said it all. They were expecting this. That only fueled the crowd's uproar. The 7 houses are accepting the Luo clan's rise. But how could they allow anyone to stand at their level? The Luo clan did have soaring demonic dragon Zhuofan, that insane monster, but the rest of the clan was a whole another matter entirely. Huangpu Tianyuan snickered at the narrow-minded clans around him. Were they so blind to see it coming ever since Zhuofan started having a field day with the 7 houses' elders? So even though Luo clan was overstepping its bounds per usual, none of the houses found it worthy of a reaction. Oh, your ambition for power and status sure is commendable. Ha ha ha. In the end, you still abided by his wishes and showed up. An aged voice echoed the crowd. Turned around in shock, they found 3 old men coming over. The leader being the head of 4 pillars, Prime Minister Zhuge Changfeng, flanked by his Yinyang elders. Even from afar, the people could sense the hidden and thick power they exuded. Enough to crush this entire area. Why is this geezer here? Dugu Zhantian held his beard with a stern face. Huangpu Tianyuan's side was put off by the presence of Tianyu's number 1 mind. This old bean had extended Yuan Shan and company a hand in wrestling out of the emperor's grip one time. But it was a known fact that no one could truly unravel the real reason behind his kindness. His mind was unreadable. Yesterday's friend could very well turn into today's enemy. But the worst was the constant anxiety one was in not knowing when that would happen. Lung Wuchang eyed the hunched figure, then shook his head and sighed. Not even he could read the old man hailed as unwanted contriver. With everyone an open book before his scrutiny, he had no confidence when it came to reading Zhuge Changfeng. Zhuge Changfeng sported a vague smile as he walked next to Zhuofan. Have you thought it through? Or are you going to be swept away by the storm? Gasps of shock resounded everywhere. What is the Luo clan and Zhuge Changfeng's connection? They now understood why Luo clan had risen to challenge the 7 houses. Blast it! With 2 pillars behind you, the young master under a marshal and the prime minister cheering you on, not even the 7 houses would dare slight such a clan. So this is Luo clan's true backing. People's faces twitched and their hearts sank. Why does this never happen to me? Just what tricks did this Luo clan pull to grab hold of 2 pillars? Huangpu Tianyuan's side was also stunned. They never saw it coming. Zhuge Changfeng came for Zhuofan. With even Zhuge Changfeng helping them, they had no chance to finish off the Luo clan. Ever. Huangpu Tianyuan's face sank as his knuckles went white. Lung Wuchang dismissed his worries. Estate Lord, Zhuge Changfeng is different from Dugu Zhantian, a pragmatic. Even if he intended to get close to Luo clan, it will only be because of Zhuofan's skills. Once Zhuofan is out of the picture, they will fall like a ton of bricks. It only makes this time's esoteric debate of paramount importance. To stomp that punk dead. Huangpu Tianyuan's eyes flashed with bloodthirst. Lung Wuchang nodded, turning to the only one who could achieve this feat. Heaven-shaking dragon Lord Huangpu Qingtian, yet the man in question was oblivious to their conversation. His eyes showed he was raring to go turn the entire battlefield upside down. Perfect. Lung Wuchang chuckled, finding everyone dancing his tune going back to Zhuofan. The man smiled. Prime Minister, how do you know if the Luo clan isn't in the eye of the storm already? Zhuge Changfeng raised an eyebrow. I trust your judgment. It's fine as long as you aren't forced into it. I am eager to see the day Steward Zhuo achieves his ambitions. Zhuofan nodded and Zhuge Changfeng laughed. He took his Yinyang elders to Dugu Zhantian. Old Marshal, please don't take a hard on me for dropping unannounced. I would never. You are the honorable Prime Minister of our empire. It is only natural to come see the grand esoteric debate. Dugu Zhantian's beard trembled. His tone cold. Zhuge Changfeng laughed. Old Marshal, don't be so stiff. I'm here by myself out of boredom. Don't think too much of it. Humph, as if. The crowd cursed inside as well. Since when was Zhuge Changfeng that bored to come here without rhyme or reason? The game was most definitely afoot, the old fox's schemes aside. Zhuge Zhantian had no time to mind him. His orders were to make sure esoteric debate ran smoothly, recalling the emperor's explicit and repeated warnings. A caution the emperor never showed before led this old general to believe the esoteric debate of today had national ramifications. Zhuge Zhantian barked. By His Majesty's grace, the esoteric debate will allow clansmen below the age of 30 to participate. No one older is allowed entry, or I will personally cut them down. The rules will be explained to you shortly by one of Divine Dragons. Jade Flute Divine Sword Fang Qiu Bai. Whoosh! A whistle of white clothes signified the entrance of an old man holding a jade flute and exuding a dominating air. Fang Qiu Bai rustle. A flick of his hand sent 5 jades, taller than 2 people, around the teleportation array. Looking at it, the people saw the stone form 5 huge gates. 8th grade army transfer, national elemental stones. Looking at the red, yellow, green, blue, and brown stones, Zhuge Changfeng and the 7 houses took a step back in shock. Fang Qiu Bai nodded. Correct, this is indeed the array passed down by imperial ancestors. Fang Qiu Bai then made a sign, and the stones shone, each reflecting a beautiful scenery of beasts and birds. A 3rd-level spiritual beast soon passed by and watched the crowd curiously. Then came a 4th-level spiritual beast and howled, but was left to claw away at an invisible barrier. Unable to reach them, Fang Qiu Bai's voice roused them from the shock. I will now present you all with the rules for this esoteric debate. As you have seen for yourselves, the center and the stone arrays are both unidirectional. You will shortly stand in the center array, and I will then send you to the location of the final battle. But to return, the only way is through the national elemental stones. The crowd looked puzzled. Fang Qiu Bai continued. The 5 national elemental stones are a one-way door, but from the final battle location to here. To activate it, you will need to find not only these stones, but also their key. However, each array has a yin and yang key that must be joined to return, and the order of your arrival will mark your ranking. Simple enough. Huangpu Qingtian smiled. The others nodded, finding it pretty straightforward. It all came down to finding some keys, and the way back the greatest danger was merely deadly battles between clans. Nothing of importance. Fang Qiu Bai raised an eyebrow and snickered. Simple as it? You won't be saying that after you find out the location. The clan stared at him distraught. Beast King Mountain. Fang Qiu Bai mocked SSS. Gasps echoed around, and some even felt their knees shaking. Beast King Mountain wasn't as deadly as all Beast Mountain range, but high-level spiritual beasts were nevertheless present. There were many 5th and 6th-level spiritual beast kings roaming. Hence the name Beast King Mountain. Even profound heaven and radiant stage experts would have a hard time scouring that place for anything. Not to mention the plenty of bone-tempering cultivators among the clans. There was no need to even fight when the spiritual beasts would kill them off before they could even meet. The hearts of everyone sank in despair. Why was this time's battle so cruel and deadly? Only 6 dragons, 1 phoenix, and Zhuo Fan, with a picture of calmness glancing at these monsters, left them stomping in indignation. Was this place chosen with these freaks in mind? If you take away the 8 monsters, you'd only have average people. This is ridiculous. Fang Qiu Bai grinned at their silent protest. But of course, no danger comes unwarranted. It is slightly dangerous this time around, but the reward is up to the risk. These are 5 8th-grade pills, brimming sacred pill. It will be up to each one of you to earn it. Say what? Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingtian were both affected. The brimming sacred pill was of most value to a radiant stage expert or those on the brink. Across the whole of Tianyu, this pill was the rarest of all. Not even the 7 houses had one. Huangpu Qingtian, Huangpu Tianyuan, and other peak profound heaven experts needed just one little pill, and they would jump right into being a radiant stage expert with no strings attached. While to a radiant stage expert, It would boost their soul many times over. Worth it. Huangpu Tianyuan was moved as he looked at his son. He had been stuck at peak profound heaven stage for decades. This chance was God sent, and yet Huangpu Qingtian's face left him cold. God damn it. If this brat gets it, he'll eat it on the spot. Zhuge Changfeng frowned as he twirled his mustache. The old man has come out swinging. He is eager to begin his plan. While the second and third-rate clans looked on in forlorn depression, this is clearly meant for those monsters. Where among us do you see a radiant stage or peak profound heaven expert? Taking it will only make us pop like fireworks. It came with great fear and trepidation as to how cruel this event would be for them. This stage was practically designed to be the death of them. They were nothing more than cannon fodder. But to climb aboard a house, a timely help would get the attention they desperately yearned. Even if they were cannon fodder, they'd still risk it. Chapter 270, Beast King Mountain. Chapter 270, Beast King Mountain. All right, youngsters, time to go. Fang Qiubai made a hand sign and pointed at the dark mass in the center of the array in a dazzling fashion. A pillar of light sprung up straight to the sky and forced people to squint. Every clan's younger generation rubbed their eyes and their mouths twitched. But no matter how unwilling, they all walked on. Go! Go! Just go and die. They all cursed. No matter how they thought about it, Fang Qiubai's cheering felt more like a blatant wish for an untimely death. Not like they had a choice in the matter. So on they went, for their clan's honor and for their future. Whoosh! People sank into the pillar of light one after another. Gone for good, Zhuo Fan glanced at the array and said to Luo Yunhai's group, "The teleportation array is random and will split us up. No matter what happens, you are to search for each other first and foremost." "Yes, Steward Zhuo." The 10 young guards nodded and Luo Yunhai spoke gravely. "Don't worry, Brother Zhuo. My godfather put me through some scouting lessons and I'll quickly find you." Grinning, Zhuo Fan said, "It was a good thing after all, leaving you in Marshall's care all those years. I can rest easy now." Luo Yunhai's eyes shined with resolve. "Let's go." Zhuo Fan took his group through the light pillar. Luo Yunchang sighed, looked from afar, and prayed for their safety. "Zhuo Fan, I will make you pay for killing my master." A sudden roar caught Zhuo Fan's attention. Yan Fu watched him filled with revenge and hatred. More obvious now that the white light separated them, Zhuo Fan was stunned. "Damn, forgot about that twerp. This guy is a coward anyway. He only waited for me to get in the array before barking. Ah, what a chicken." Zhuo Fan shook his head and sighed. He was gone. Yan Fu, however, was over the moon. He actually managed to provoke the monster. Yan Bongi walked over and mocked. "Spineless brat, try to refrain from being so despicable next time." The other houses also snickered, waiting for your enemy to be unable to do anything to you. If that isn't cowardice, what is? You've gone long on the path of a gutless rat. As they looked at him in ridicule, the rest of the 7 houses entered the pillar of light as well. Yan Fu gnashed his teeth. His face flushed as he followed them. The bustling place from moments ago soon turned quiet. Fang Qiubai found all participants gone and closed the array with another hand sign. Yet beyond his perception, 2 shadowy figures slipped past just as he finished. Whoosh! The towering light pillar died, and Zhuo Fan found himself in the heart of a forest. He didn't even get to make sense of his surroundings as a roar grated his ears with a rancid smell and whistling wind signaling its arrival. A dozens of meter tall bear rose behind him. With his rock-splitting paw, it smashed right for him. Even a 9th layer of bone-tempering cultivator would be hard-pressed to face such power. Snapping his head back, Zhuo Fan frowned. 4th level spiritual beast, mountain-crushing bear. The giant paw was right in his face. Yet all Zhuo Fan did was have his eye flash azure. The fierce bear paw came to a grinding halt, and the giant bear was scared out of his mind as he ran with all his power. Zhuo Fan watched the disappearing, humongous bear with a snicker. The azure flame's use isn't limited to all Beast Mountain range. All spiritual beasts are under its influence. This would make the trip to Beast King Mountain a Breeze, while others had to painstakingly pay attention to any high-level spiritual beasts on the prowl. He was out on an evening stroll. The Beast King Mountain was his home turf, on the other hand. It was a nightmare for the rest of those poor suckers, particularly those that had yet to enter the profound heaven stage, since he was welcomed by a fourth-level spiritual beast. The others ought to be receiving more or less the same honor, no? I have to find Yunhai fast. Frowning, Zhuo Fan's wings unfolded, and he took to the sky. Some flying spiritual beasts shot straight for him. But a flash of azure flame from Zhuo Fan's eyes cut their intent clean-off whoosh. Flashes of white dazzled the sky for the better part of the next hour, yet Zhuo Fan never met another person. He sighed at how ridiculously vast the Beast King Mountain was. If he didn't find the others fast, who knew what might happen? "Save me." A charming voice entered his ears. Zhuo Fan paused. With how vicious the Beast King Mountain is, no normal person would be stupid enough to come here. This person has to be a contender. Among the many clans that joined, Drifting Flowers Edifices had the most girls. Should I or should I not? Zhuo Fan mulled it over for a second before flying down. I guess it won't be nice to watch your own ally bite the dust without helping. Since I won't find Yunhai anytime soon, I'd better lend a helping hand. Zhuo Fan sent out a soul ripple and locked onto the source of the sound. In an instant, he saw a huge lake in the distance, wide enough that it was impossible to see the other shore. The place was verdant and lush, framed perfectly by the sun's rays. But the water of the lake started to roil and billow as huge waves rose all over the place. A charming girl slammed into the water in great distress. Across from her was a quarter-mile-long scarlet venomous serpent. Its eerie pair of sharp eyes looked at the panicking girl with hunger. Sixth-level spiritual beast. Overpowering flood dragon? Zhuo Fan squinted in shock. That was no ordinary snake, but a water serpent descended from the mighty flood dragon. Such a spiritual beast was a natural king. It was a peak existence even among sixth-level spiritual beasts. Not even a common seventh-level spiritual beast could contend with it. Zhuo Fan gasped in awe at the Beast King Mountain hiding such a monster. Even more so to the bad luck this Missy had, in landing not just in its turf, but its home waters. In fact, she popped right in its goddamned open maw. It couldn't get any worse than that. SSS. Flicking its red tongue, the serpent opened its maw ready to swallow the girl. The girl shuddered and curled up. Giving up on herself, Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed with a golden ring, and he appeared next to her. With another flash, they were gone. The savage serpent bit down, but got nothing but fresh water. It looked around agape. Where'd she go? The more it looked around, the more shocked it became. Not for a second did the serpent believe that she was fast enough to escape its range. The only plausible answer was an illusion. It lifted its huge tail, creating a 50-meter wide splash. It rubbed its head with the tip in bewilderment. How come? Am I growing senile and have started seeing things? In another area, the girl closed her eyes and shivered in Zhuo Fan's embrace, waiting for the jaws of death to rob her life. She waited, yet nothing came. Not even pain. She only felt a bit chilly as the breeze traced her curves. The girl cracked her eyes open to see a broad chest, and the blue sky. Zhuo Fan was paying attention to where he flew with a cold stare. But when he felt her squirming, he said, "You're all right, ah." Zhuo Fan's voice was stuck in his throat, and his scalp went numb watching the noble figure. The girl's naked. The girl looked at him and then at her silky smooth and uncovered skin before blushing and wailing, "Ah, you rogue! Don't look. Close your eyes. You're the damn rogue. What are you doing coming here without clothes? Since when is Drifting Flowers Edifices so deviant?" What Drifting Flowers Edifices? I know no Drifting Flowers Edifices. I thought I told you to shut your eyes. Don't you dare look. Zip it. It's perfectly normal for a man to look, especially now. Go and wear something if you don't like it. You. She glared at him and huffed. Her eyes sparkled. on the verge of tears, and her face was growing flushed by the second. Chapter 271, Beast Mistress. Chapter 271, Beast Mistress. Ding. In the thick forest, Juofan was facing away from the bush behind him in silence and focus. He could even hear some clear ringing coming from that bush. Juofan sighed. No good deed goes unpunished. He went and saved the damsel, only to find her naked. So they made a pit stop at a bush to dress up. But this chick was taking her sweet time doing it. Can't you just put on a coat or a robe and be done with it? Look at me. Rustle. The grass crunched behind him, and Juofan turned. He was in for the shock of his life. He hadn't gotten a good look at this damsel, with the rescuing and all. But now that he had, she was quite the looker. She had a cute button nose, more than generous curves, and big eyes to reflect complex emotions, considering her clothes. It was a striking difference from the refined and graceful silken robes. They were made with ease of movements in mind. The constant ringing finally drew his attention to her bracelet having a bell attached, completing her wild look. She's a foreigner. Juofan watched on speechless. Never had it crossed his mind that in a place filled with his clan's disciples, he would find a girl not native of Tianyu. Noticing the obvious look she was getting, the girl blushed. She was squirming with shyness, but still had the guts to give him a sharp glare. What are you looking at? See how I'll poke your eyes out. TCH. Not that there's anything to see. Why are you so feisty? Juofan jabbed the girl, blushed harder, and felt disgruntled. She was a pure and single girl, and then she stumbled upon this stranger who had got more than an eyeful. How could she face the world now? She was mortified, wishing to bury her head in her chest. Go die! All this while Juofan was walking away cursing. God friggin' damn it! I saved the wrong damsel and wasted all this time too. Glaring, the girl spat. What's the meaning of this? You regret saving me? She skipped in front of him and fixed her piercing eyes on him. Juofan's words struck a nerve, and she got over her shyness in a jiffy. I'm an exotic beauty, a man's dream. It was your greatest fortune getting to save me, and even getting an eyeful. What's with that tone? As if you were the one found naked. I am the one hurting here. You ruined me. Humph, greedy pig. The girl's eyes were staring a hole into Juofan, wishing to tear him a new one, and Juofan's response? Pushing her aside in mid-stride. Move. I've wasted enough pointless time on you as it is. The girl eyed the proud Juofan walking away and blinked. And you call yourself a man? This was a first. All the men she had met so far were quite taken with her, not cold as ice like this one. Then she recalled the desire in his eyes when he got an eyeful in the sky, and it was clear that this guy was a man from head to toe. So why? Then it hit her. What was she doing looking hopeful instead of getting her due for staining a girl's reputation? Ah, how mortifying. She cupped her blushing cheeks, her mind drawing all kinds of untoward conclusions, not that Juofan had a mind to care. He ignored this fated encounter and was this close to forgetting her as well. What was the point in remembering every bystander? Roar! A sudden gust signaled the appearance of a golden panther. As it jumped down from a tree up above, it stared savagely at Juofan, bearing its reeking fangs as well. Fourth level spiritual beast. Mountain crossing, golden panther. The girl cried in fear. Juofan only frowned with slight worry, with fourth-level spiritual beasts being the order of the day on Beast King Mountain. He was plagued by what might happen to Yunhai. The girl figured Juofan was rooted to his spot from sheer terror and rushed to his rescue. The spiritual beast started laughing at Juofan's outlandish reaction. I scared the kid witless with my entrance. Perfect. It has been days since my last feast. Roar! The kitty pounced, its maw ready to swallow Juofan. Whole Juofan smiled as his eyes were about to flash the danger away, just as a graceful figure jumped in front and blocked the savage beasting. The girl's bracelet rang melodiously as she faced that savage pair of eyes with her charm. The girl then started moving her waist to the ringing, just like a dance. All the beast could do was gawk in a trance at the dancing. Girl Fan was stunned. He never knew you could deal with spiritual beasts in such an outlandish way through dancing and soul power. One charmed their opponent. Humans were hardly affected, but spiritual beasts with their tiny minds gobbled it up on the spot as the girl went along her dancing routine. The spiritual beast's head was lolling about, and its eyes glazed. Then the girl clapped the savage beast's head, cocked and slumped. The fear and dizziness in its eyes made a stark contrast with the contentment on its face left gasping. The girl wiped her brow. Fan smiled. Ha ha ha! You're really something. This world sure is wide, and there are many approaches to the same problem. Hey, don't just stand there and comment on my skill from your high horse. Snapping her glare on him, the girl said after a pause, looking at you, you're just a 9th layer bone tempering cultivator. No wonder this 4th level spiritual beast scared you silly. Right back at you. Who was it, I wonder, that had her bare ass saved from that lake? Fan snickered. The girl now had his full attention. Blushing, the girl stuck out her head. How is that the same? That thing in the water was a 6th level spiritual beast weight. How are you able to fly as a bone-tempering cultivator? How did you save me? I am in the 2nd layer of the profound heaven stage myself, but not even I could escape that monster. Finally getting her wits about her, she realized the sheer ridiculousness of it all. How was she spared from ending up a 6th level spiritual beast's lunch? Fan wasn't about to blurt all his secrets to a total stranger and only showed off his lightning wings with a smile. These things are quite fast, enough to outrun a water serpent. The girl blinked for a second and nodded. I see, a 6th grade flying spiritual weapon. The sight of those lightning-streaked wings had the girl musing. Then she said in all seriousness, Oh, hey, kid, since you saved me and I saved you, we're even. Fan nodded, though technically he could have easily dealt with the kitty, but the girl flushed again for some odd reason and was plagued by indecision. Her voice grew fainter to such a degree. Even Fan would have had a hard time hearing if not for his cultivation. You still owe me for seeing me naked. Oh, that makes sense. Fan nodded and chuckled. I totally understand you. Don't worry. I am not one to leave a debt unsettled. One moment. Fan then removed his sash. The girl became bug-eyed and turned away in embarrassment. What are you doing, rogue? You said I took advantage of your plight, so I'm only returning the favor. This should make us even. Rest easy, milady. I will definitely won't ask anything in return, including integrity. Fan snickered, sizing the shivering lady with a curious eye. The girl was fuming now. Damn pervert! That's not what I meant. What else is there? You mean you want more? Fan grinned. Fine, my magnanimous self will never be so petty as a certain girl. Go ahead. Feel me up as much as you want. Ha ha ha. Do as you wish with me, I won't complain. Really not one peep. Ah, rotten pervert. I've had it with you. The girl was stomping and pouting. I only want you to help me get some shaping spring. I don't need to see your shaping spring. Fan's playful mood was gone, replaced by dead seriousness. This matter is starting to become interesting. Chapter 272, Shaping Spring. Chapter 272, Shaping Spring. Shaping Spring was an underground river flowing for millions of years, subjected to constant heat from the core. It was formed of Earth's essence, and it was priceless, while Ice Heart Moon Soul of Shui-Qing-Jian was a peak water treasure vein. The Shaping Spring was a yang water essence, just like diamond sand. The Shaping Spring was among the best ingredients, if not the best itself. They said diamond sand was the blood of the earth, while Shaping Spring was Earth's blood's blood. Diamond sand was a hard ingredient, and Shaping Spring a soft one. Diamond sand made strong spiritual weapons, while Shaping Spring allowed a spiritual weapon to go through endless changes. Water had no form, shape, or size, and with just a drop of Shaping Spring placed in a spiritual weapon, it would turn into a sacred item, free to change its size at will, big and unstoppable as a hammer of 1,000 pounds. or small and sublime like an invisible needle, there was one more incredible property the shaping spring had the others didn't know about. It matched with a body refining array. Zhuo Fan grinned as his mind drifted to the tall pillar in his thunder ring. It not once crossed his mind to take this direction, since he never could. But now he had a chance at getting the shaping spring, and with it he could complete that art written in the 9 Serenities secret records. He may very well gain the same freakish power Gu Santong exhibited. Zhuo Fan was very excited to try if he could get his hands on the same power that made Gu Santong invincible in Tianyu. Then the father and son pair, but not even his imagination could fully grasp the extent of such power. The danger of achieving such a godly refinement was thousands of times greater than when he refined his body with diamond sand. Hesitation had him for a second, but he shook his head clear. There's no time to delay. That thought comes after I can get it. Then his trademark evil smile graced his face once again. Miss, what would you have me do? The girl eyed him skeptically. Why is this punk so warm all of a sudden? Odd. But taking a look at Zhuo Fan's cultivation in the bone tempering stage, her worries were put to rest. What could 9th layer of bone tempering stage possibly do when he only had a 6th grade spiritual weapon built for speed? The girl smiled in kind. Come with me. Help me get the shaping spring. And what you did to me, it'll make us square. The girl blushed. Zhuo Fan nodded with the same hypocritical smile. As always, he felt like sighing. Oh, so many people judge me by my cultivation, only to be swallowed whole by me. This girlie is no different. He followed close behind her with a cold smile for some very odd reason. She shivered from a creepy feeling striking her very core. Yet her response was to cock her head in bewilderment. Ah, another lady got duped. The duo soon arrived at the edge of a lake. Zhuo Fan's eyes trembled. Isn't this the same lake I saved her from? The girl smiled. Hey, do you know why I was in danger last time? Do you even need to ask? Bathing in some else's home is the same as taking a leak in it. If I was that water serpent, I'd swallow you in one gulp too. Zhuo Fan said, sagely blushing. She seethed. What, bathing? Who would do that in such a dangerous place? Where do you come up with all these dumb conclusions? What else is there? Weren't you going all natural when I got you out? Zhuo Fan scratched his nose, yet for some reason, despite his unfazed face, his body was quite honest. 2 trails of blood flowed down his nose. Zhuo Fan was stunned. Ah, why am I bleeding? The girl was flushed and smacked his head in resentfulness. Stop having errant thoughts, or I what? Make me bathe, naked for you to look? Zhuo Fan snorted. The girl was stomping in anger, red as a tomato. Why was she so unlucky to meet this creep? Then again, only by working together with this creep could she get the shaping spring, and she sighed. She reined in her indignation and turned grave. Do you see that cave across the lake? Zhuo Fan followed her fingers to see endless fog surrounding a mountain. There was also a faint image of a man-sized cave entrance at its foot, half of it submerged in water. Zhuo Fan nodded. What of it? That is the serpent's cave. The girl said. Zhuo Fan asked, how? That thing was 500 meters long. The cave is too small for. Zhuo Fan's eyes jumped. The girl giggled and made good use of this rare chance to mock him. Hey, you're not as dumb as you look. Yes, that serpent is definitely eating the shaping spring. It allows it to change its size and enter that cave. What makes you so sure shaping spring is in there? Perhaps the venomous serpent ate it somewhere else. Or maybe it's in the middle of eating. Zhuo Fan frowned whoosh. With a flash of light, a golden-tailed carp jumped in front of him, splashing his face with icy cold water. The girl giggled, reveling in his misery, content she finally managed to get some retribution. Zhuo Fan wiped his face, uncaring that she did it on purpose, I see. You have a first-level water-type pet you used to scout the poisonous serpent's cave while it was away. Clever boy. The girl winked and smiled. I've been staking out the strange 6th-level spiritual beast since I found it a month ago. Until 3 days ago, it only kept to the cave. So I used my 1st-level spiritual beast, golden fin fish, to find that it really contained Shaping Spring. But that poisonous serpent was truly vicious, coming back just an hour later. So I waited the past 3 days for it to come out. But since it didn't, I had no choice but to go in and confront it. Seeing the girl's charming smile, like she had hit the jackpot, Zhuo Fan jabbed. So you got naked and tried working your wiles on it? Wait, that ain't right. You're different species. Even if you forced yourself on that hunk, it would only see you as lunch. What nonsense are you babbling? Who would ever seduce that beast? Blushing, the girl gnashed her teeth in anger. I only intended to use my beast-controlling art to tame it. There is nothing obscene about it. Beast taming? What does that have to do with you running around in all your glory? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. The girl's glare sharpened a notch. Oi, could you stop with the vulgarities? My clan's beast-controlling art pays special attention to being one with nature. The more in tune one is, the stronger the art. Since I can only tame a 4th-level spiritual beast at most, I had to give my body and soul in joining with nature this time around. But I failed anyway because its soul is stronger than average and almost lost my life at its jaws of death. Zhuo Fan nodded. The venomous serpent was related to the flood dragon. Dragon blood flowed through its veins. How could it be just a mere 6th-level spiritual beast? The girl was in over her head, trying to charm the beastie with her skill. Oi, brat, weren't you quick at flying? Draw the venomous serpent out, and let me fetch the Shaping Spring. Do that, and I will cross out the crass attitude and disrespect you showed me. The girl showed a bewitching smile and batted her big puppy eyes that might have worked on your average hormone-riddled male to fire him up in braving any dangers. But Zhuo Fan, however, was a stone-cold killer, my thoughts exactly. Zhuo Fan showed his trademark evil smirk. The girl's eyes shined with glee. But Zhuo Fan could easily see a spark of contempt hidden there, one that said all men are the same. Humph, ignorant bint, now that I know where Shaping Spring is, you've outlived your usefulness. Snickering to himself, Zhuo Fan flew to the cave. The girl stared at him all the way with an increasingly wider smile. She could practically hold the Shaping Spring in her arms, yet something nagged her in the corner of her mind. Isn't this perhaps a little too easy? Is this man that much of a fool, so easily taken in by some batting and exploited to his literal death? Chapter 273, Great Hall. Chapter 273, Great Hall. Bang. Zhuo Fan pummeled the entrance wall. The gonging sound was eerily similar to someone knocking on a metal door. The girl looked on dazed, from a very safe distance. This punk has nerves of steel, I'll give him that. Or is he plain indifferent to the 6th-level spiritual beast just waiting for him inside? Speaking of his insensitivity, was he that easily taken in by my charm? The girl looked at him closer. Something isn't right here. Splash. Then the sound of water was heard, and a meter-long water serpent swam out of the cave. It shook as its body expanded. It was back to its 500 meters long size in a blink, which created a huge splash as he hissed at the two humans' hiss. The stench licked his cheek, and Zhuo Fan clutched his nose as he sized the snake this guy ate Shaping Spring on. The girl was waving her hand down yonder in panic. Not out of worry for Zhuo Fan, of course, but his death would mean her venture would abruptly end with a big fat zero hull. Why is this brat just standing there? Is he scared shitless? God damn it, why did I fail when I'm so close? The girl gnashed her teeth in annoyance. The venomous serpent thought the same, laughing out loud and looking with contempt. This brat must be so naive to knock at my home. Now that he has basked in my royal glory, he's scared witless. Ha ha ha, it's only natural. Even I am in awe of my glorious self most of the time, ha ha ha. Glancing at the delusional snake and its wagging tail, Zhuo Fan could read him like a book. He grinned as he simply flew inside the cave. Guard this place and don't come in without my say. Fan belittled this useless thing and just waltzed, and the venomous serpent was out of it from shock. What did he just say? To watch the door? The serpent was enraged. No one ever ignored it, least of all claim its cave like he owned the place. Oi, punk, do you have any idea whose home this is? Do you have a death wish? Hiss. The venomous serpent got closer to Fan and hissed in his face, covering him in drool. It hoped to knock some sense into him with its almighty majesty. The girl was soaked from fear. Run, you fool! Yet Fan only had disdain in his eyes. He wiped the drool from his face and glared. Behave. The venomous serpent almost spat blood. It had never met someone so full of themselves to ignore it and even belittle it. It was royally pissed. The girl was scared witless. You behave, brat. You're pissing it off by telling it to watch the door. I get you want to die, but could you at least do it down yonder? Some of us still need to get in, you know. The guy's brains are on the fritz. She sighed. She could practically see the kid torn into pieces by the angry venomous serpent, and that was what the serpent was about to do. Holy friggin' balls! I've seen many dauntless, but none so boneheaded to not even care for their lives. They look for death, or better yet, they deserve death with such an idiotic stance. You're dead meat, so cut the act. Humph, as you wish. This king will send you off. Licking its sharp fangs, the venomous serpent hissed and went on to swallow him whole. With how the red mouth was covered in poison, Fan would find himself melting the instant he touched at the girl, closed her eyes, and looked away. She couldn't bear the horror that followed, yet Fan was cool as a cucumber as the azure flame flashed in his eyes. A ripple racked the venomous serpent, scared. The huge serpent froze in its place. He was soaked in sweat, even as his maw was right on top of Fan, with fangs bared and all. And yet, he just didn't chomp the look in Fan's eye got him so terrified, it started shivering. You're so feisty to not listen when you're ordered. Fan shook his head as he went in like he owned the place, leaving the venomous serpent behind like a statue, scared and dumbfounded. What power was that? The serpent's heart was frantic. Spiritual beasts cared a lot about levels, more than the strength even. A 6th-level spiritual beast's pup was no stronger than a 3rd-level spiritual beast, but no 4th-level spiritual beast would dare attack it. It was their inborn majestic aura doing its thing. No low-level spiritual beast messed with a higher one, ever. It was etched in their bones, blood, and the like. As a 6th-level spiritual beast, it was invincible here, a king lording over the masses. It had the right to pick on others, not the other way around. But it finally got his due in the form of Fan. The guy flexed his power for a blink and scared the living daylights out of the snake. It had no clue what level of spiritual beast that power was equivalent to, but its blood told him to surrender and lay down all hostilities against Fan. Damn it all to hell! What was that? He held such power that it made even a 6th-level spiritual beast shake in its own skin. What savage beast could have such power? And why is it with a human? Is he perhaps a dreadful beast young? The venomous serpent was sweating buckets. It was just like a beggar meeting an emperor, with only obedience in his heart if it was told to guard the door. That was what it'd do. What was so bad about it anyway? It went to such an extent that the snake swam out of the cave and didn't even have the gall to look behind him, while the girl who had struck Fan off as a dead man sneaked a peek all this time and was now dumbstruck. What the hell? Since, when we're vicious, venomous serpents, so meek, it's not only not entering the cave, but was even posing as a damn watchdog. How in bloody hell did a bone-tempering cultivator do this? Does he also have a secret beast-taming art? The girl cocked her head, glancing at Fan, going further in with amazement and more than a little curiosity. This brat isn't as dumb as he looks. He may very well not have needed my help with the 4th-level spiritual beast as well. Wait, if he's so strong and all, why is he hiding it? Is he planning to take it all for himself? The girl panicked and stomped in anger. Her wish to go in there herself was curbed by the venomous serpent guard at the door. This time she was close to blowing a gasket. She had wasted a month staking out this place, only to let another person reap the reward. I was hustled. She then pouted and slumped on the ground, sulking. Back to Juefan. The man in question soon arrived at the end of the cave. The view here shocked him. Senseless the cave was your average hole in the mountain, opening into a room 1,000 square meters in size. But the dazzling scene was breathtaking. He came here for shaping spring, and actually found so many high-grade herbs. There were 100 8th grade and at least 1,000 7th grade herbs. Such haul could contest with the 7 houses stores, if not even imperial families. Holy Mother of God, true wealth truly comes from nature. He assumed these were all gathered by the snaky, but why didn't he eat them? To last him through the winter. More for me, I guess. Without further ado, and not caring for the beast outside, he pocketed all herbs with a wave. He even went to every corner and made sure he didn't miss anything. Juefan cackled like mad for such a great haul. It echoed along the cave walls and traveled outside. Venomous Serpent's heart sank and tears fell from his eyes. The girl heard the cackle as well and almost sank into depression. Those were supposed to be mine. Having already scouted the cave with her pet fish, she knew what a jackpot that cave held. She didn't tell Juefan about it in fear. He'd want a bite as well, and now. He didn't just take a bite, but swallowed it whole. The girl was wallowing in misery, tears threatening to burst out of her clear eyes. Chapter 274. Divine Eye of the Void's Second Stage. Chapter 274. Divine Eye of the Void's Second Stage. Whoosh! Juefan drifted around in the cave, waving his ring in every direction. He could feel joy bubbling out of him, with every precious ingredient being tucked away in the safe confines of his ring. He just came to Beast King Mountain and had already made a killing. This is the best goddamn omen of all. Juefan cackled, his sound chilling the snake and human outside to the bone after he had made sure nothing was left unappropriated. Juefan began his search for shaping spring in earnest. His soul sense spread to every corner, then Juefan rushed deeper. Standing next to a hot spring, he watched the bottom of the spring in shock, an all-natural hot spring. It was 10-meter wide and had hot water coming out from the wall in front. But what was truly amazing was the thick white layer at the bottom of it. Juefan knew right away that this was shaping spring. Isn't it a bit too much? Not even he had hoped to find so much of the underground miraculous treasure. Just a vial of the stuff could buy you a town. He'd be happy with just a bowl. But he didn't just get a bowl. He instead got a whole tub. He could literally bathe in it. Juefan shuddered from excitement. Thinking back on this mountain, he realized that only after billions of years of accumulation could have gathered so much of shaping spring. There would have been even more of it, if not for a certain snake sampling it. This is enough as it is. Anyways, one shouldn't be too greedy. It's bad for health. Juefan chuckled at his egotistical thinking. Any who heard him would have spat blood. If you're not greedy, then the people in this world are all altruists. Humph, greedy pig. Plop. With a laugh, Juefan jumped right in. He sank until the shaping spring reached his waist. Juefan quirked his eyebrows in glee so deep. There was even more of the shaping spring than he thought was possible. Juefan went right down to business, taking out bottles and filling them with the stuff before throwing them into his ring. Juefan's face always sported that dumb grin throughout this ordeal, smiling from ear to ear. I hit pay dirt coming to this Beast King Mountain. It's totally worth it, even if I don't get that brimming sacred pill. Ha! Juefan's laughter echoed throughout the cave. Bam! While he was hauling his booty, he touched upon something. It didn't sound like a rock, but something hollow. He groped around blindly before taking out a blue vial. Juefan looked at it curiously. Why is there a vial here? Is collecting baubles another one of the serpent's hobbies? But the writing on it left him stupefied. My luck can't be that good, right? Did I actually stumble upon a brimming sacred pill? Yes, sir. The vial had those exact words on it. The cap even had a seal on it to not leak its fragrance and attract spiritual beasts. Juefan started flipping it Fong Chobai threw 5 such pills into Beast King Mountain at the start. This one must have flown through an underground river and chanced upon this place, with the snake totally oblivious of its Zhuofan's side. I'm so lucky, even I'm scared. The odds of finding a brimming sacred pill among Shaping Spring was a true close to 0 chance, but was he one to waste such an opportunity? Hell no. He threw it in his ring and resumed hauling his loot. It took him half a day of grueling work to capture it all. Down to the last drop, the venomous serpent outside was swimming around, peeved. Just what are you doing in my home? Couldn't you at least leave some for me? Wah! Uncaring and unfeeling for the heartbroken snake outside. Zhuofan had no idea about the meaning of restraint. He took one last look at the spotless walls and nodded in satisfaction that he didn't miss anything. Woe was the poor snake. It was now a millionaire turned pauper, wrung dry by Zhuofan. If it had only seen this spotless place, it'd be crying his lungs out. Not that the greedy Zhuofan ever cared. Mind you, Zhuofan now took his time to inspect the brimming sacred pill. He uncapped it and swallowed it with enemies coming out at every turn in the esoteric debate. He was hard-pressed to find such leisure again, giving him enough time to refine the pill. It'd be best to stay in here, under the snake's watch, and grow stronger. Boom! An explosion of soul power happened the instant he swallowed it. As if a sea was unleashed in his head, his mind threatened to burst. Zhuofan never thought the pill would be so outrageously strong, finding it painful even for him to absorb such a vast amount. Nevertheless, he was happy as he channeled it into his right eye. With his soul at the radiant stage, increasing it a few more times would hardly help him in this battle. His focus was on reaching the divine eye of the void's 2nd stage with the help of the brimming sacred pill. The 1st stage had incredible power and made him practically invincible, but the 2nd stage was even more so, as it covered his deadly weakness. His victory in this final battle solely rested on it. Zhuofan's right eye burned hot as the golden ring in it flickered. Slowly, a 2nd golden halo came into existence beyond the 1st. Even if blood spilled from his eye, even if the pain was excruciating, he braced for it and remained staunch. If he hadn't missed his chance in Dragon Cloud City, it wouldn't have been such an ordeal. But now, forced by circumstances, he chose to power his way through, multiplying his agony instead. He couldn't even spare the attention to care, though. Even as he bled from his eye, even as he was soaked in sweat, he still remained firmly seated on the ground. Over the next couple of days, Zhuofan was in constant frown and veins bulged on his forehead. He was still suffering through the pain and felt the breaking point drawing ever nearer. He reached his limit on the afternoon of the 3rd day. He was teetering on the edge. Just as the 2nd halo formed in his right eye, an invisible wave shot to the skies the next moment. A simple glare actually made a small hole straight through the whole 500-meter tall mountain above him, like it was nothing. The bright sky, the warm sunlight, passed through it and shined upon the gleeful Zhuofan. He was spent and weary, but thrilled. Divine eye of the void's 2nd stage, void annihilation. The power to break through any space, even trapped in an array or space. He'd now have no problem blowing his way out, all thanks to a little help from something called Divine Eye of the Void's 2nd stage. Ha ha ha! Awesome! I am truly invincible now. Zhuofan cackled, but fell the instant he tried getting up. He guessed that he would have to wait, as tending to his soul came first. A great deal of his soul power was used on breaking through, and it was now time to use the rest to cultivate, so he sat cross-legged again the next day. His soul spread around and found everything to be far clearer. He realized the range had increased to 2 miles and flew out of the cave. He had struck the motherlode coming to Beast King Mountain. Whoosh! Shooting out of the cave with a thunderclap, he ignored the snake and took to the skies with his nemesis finally out. The venomous serpent shrank his size and entered the cave. The empty and spotless place left him wailing in rage. The horde he grew throughout his life was gone. Just like that. Even Shaping Spring was picked clean. He licked the hot spring and found not a drop remaining. The snake wailed. He is worse than a bandit. But then he noticed the bright sky above and almost fainted from anger. Blast it all to hell! Have you no restraint? You already cleaned me out, and now you go as far as punching holes in my home? What did I ever do to you? Wah! Chapter 275, Ruler of the World. Chapter 275, Ruler of the World. Whoosh! Thunder cracked across the bright sky, announcing Zhuo Fan's lightning-fast flight. His face pleased as punch. What was that saying? One good deed deserves another. Yeah, that's the one. I saved that annoying lass, and nature replied in kind from her bountiful bosom. I'll have to rethink my approach and spread kindness from now on. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan cackled then. He spotted the same girl not far ahead. She figured he was going to take off and waited for him outside. Oh, miss, do you need something? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, fuming mad. She said, Hand it over. Hand what over? Zhuo Fan played dumb. The girl barked. Shaping spring and those herbs. Think I am so stupid not to realize what you've been doing in there. But I am a woman of morals, so I won't bicker. According to the laws of the cultivation world, half belongs to me by right. Bint, no can do. Zhuo Fan shook his head. You said giving you half is fair, but why would I ever do that? The lady played the kicked puppy card. But I found it. First come, first serve. If it weren't for me, you'd never get them. So give me my fair share. The girl panicked. Zhuo Fan smiled. Did you forget I saved you? To repay me, you showed me the treasury. Now we're even, bye. Zhuo Fan left laughing, but the lady blocked him again with a snarl. You damn bastard! Out of respect for saving me, I wasn't going to argue with you and split the haul evenly, but you just don't know when to quit. Her second layer of profound heaven cultivation exploded, glaring at Zhuo Fan with the clear intent to fight him over it. Zhuo Fan yawned. Missy, power isn't always limited by cultivation stages. Once we fight, your hopes are dashed. Humph! Damn egomaniac, enough bluffing. You may have subdued the 6th level spiritual beast, but I'm no spiritual beast. I also know taming arts, and they only work on spiritual beasts. Stop trying to scare me. It ain't going to work. She then punched straight for Zhuo Fan's face. The fierce power of the fist came barreling down towards him. Backed by her second layer of profound heaven cultivation, it had no effect on Zhuo Fan. However, still calm and uncaring as he vanished. The girl was left speechless. The next second, she found her wrist yanked behind her back. Ah! She then started crying from pain. Why, you're breaking my arm. Let go. Zhuo Fan shook his head and let go. She jumped 10 meters away and looked at him perplexed. How did he do that? He was clearly in the 9th layer of bone tempering stage, yet overpowered a second layer of profound heaven cultivator in both power and speed. She felt like a mouse in the claws of a hawk. This doesn't make sense. It's too damn freaky. Only now did she recall Zhuo Fan's words. This guy is a bloody monster. The girl gnashed her teeth, and a flick of the hand revealed 3 roaring 4th level spiritual beasts, ready to pounce, said Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow curiously. You're not half bad, I'll give you that. You don't see that every day, a lady having 3 4th level spirit animals. He's scared. She stuck her chin out in her boasting. Let me tell you, I have a dozen spirit animals, but these 3 are my most cherished ones, and they even know how to fly. I would have drowned you in my spirit animals if we were on the ground instead. Zhuo Fan looked at her oddly. Most people in Tianyu focused on personal power, with hardly any interest in rearing beasts. That made spirit animals a rarity. You were hard-pressed to find even high-stage experts having one, but this girl here was quite average in cultivation, yet had over 10 spirit animals. It was Zhuo Fan's first time meeting someone who specialized in rearing beasts. His odd looks, however, were taken as fear by the lass, who cackled. It's too late to be scared now. But if your apology is heartfelt enough and you give me those items, I may be inclined to spare your miserable life. I will even forgive your earlier transgression. Whatever gave you the idea that I'm scared? Did you forget how that 6th level spiritual beast acted in front of me? just like a kitty. And you think some fourth-level spiritual beasts will do. Ha ha ha. Fan sneered. The girl snapped. Sikat, you're boasting. Who knows what you really did to that serpent? But it can only be something similar to my own taming art, a soul attack. But these 3 pets of mine are linked with my soul. Their master's orders are paramount. It will be impossible for you to tame them. Oh, shall I give it a shot? Fan snickered. The naked contempt he showed only earned her ire. Attack! Show him your power. Roar! The 3 beasts were extremely loyal, jumping on Fan the moment they were given the go signal. Yet nothing could unnerve Fan. The 3 were right on top of him, ready to tear him to pieces when his eyes flashed azure, and, just like the 6th-level spiritual beast before, the 3 pets froze and started sweating like pigs. Mommy! Who the hell is this big shot? Why is he so scary? Without further ado, the scared, witless beasts bolted with tail between their legs. Swift as the wind, it took a long time for the truth to worm itself into the girl's mind. Sheer absurdity of it all. She then shouted for her pets to come back, but would they listen? What master's orders were paramount? Life was infinitely more precious. Blast it, is the master's brain on the fritz? Why would we ever face such horror? To die? The girl shouted herself hoarse, but her pets were long gone. Infuriating her then, she sobered up and shuddered from fear. Fan drifted towards her with his mocking smile. It seems being linked with your pets ain't all sunshine and rainbows. With the 3 of them horrified, their master is ought to feel some of that fear herself. Who the hell are you? The girl froze, watching him in horror. Now she knew why the 6th-level spiritual beast held this man in such fear, and her pets were no different, because this man didn't use something as trifling as his soul to subdue them, but instilled a sense of utter dread in their very being, that even robbed them of the thought of fighting back. But how? Why would vicious beasts show such fear towards one simple man? Such a ludicrous story was never heard anywhere in the world, but this guy did it with ease. Just who is he? Fan smiled and answered her doubts. I will one day rule this world. With a laugh and flap of his wings, he was gone. He left the girl shivering and staring dumbly in shock. This mystery man had tangled with her so many times and left her with a bone-deep impression. Those final words were etched in her mind. She would scoff if it was anyone else saying them. But for some reason, hearing them from Fan made her believe he could do it. How could Tianyu have such a dreadful man? The girl was filled with trepidation. Whoosh! 2 black-robed men flashed in front of her. Lianer, is something wrong? One asked, while the other followed with, Young miss, are you all right? She only looked at them with fear in her eyes. Brother, Tianyu isn't something we can just attack. It's best that we fall back. Then her vision blurred and she fell unconscious. The 2 held her in worry, calling out to her. What did she mean? Chapter 276 Plight. Chapter 276 Plight. Young chief, young miss is only shaken up. You don't need to worry. The night sky was brightened by the moon's glow and dazzling stars. In a dusky cave crackled a bonfire, shining its light onto the 100 black-robed figures. All with heads down and in solemn silence, a white-mustached old man glanced at the girl resting near the fire with a youth at her side. The youth asked, She is in extreme shock, but why? I've known my sister for all my life. She grew among spiritual beasts and is very brash. Just what could have scared her so much? Well, the old man frowned, then sighed. It is different for everyone. I am sorry this old man can't be of any help. The youth sighed and waved the old man away. It was now that the resting girl's eyes fluttered, and she said weakly, Be brother. Lianer, you're awake. The youth grabbed her wrist in happiness. The other black-robed men rejoiced, but did not disturb them. Lianer, what happened to you? You are strong enough to wander the Beast King mountain for months. So why did you suddenly black out? That was dangerous. The youth looked at her in concern. Lianer nodded, her eyes glistening as she said anxiously, Brother, don't attack Tianyu. It holds our natural enemy, and if we attack rashly, we will suffer greatly. Our clan will be ruined. The youth looked at her puzzled. So she propped her weak body up and began retelling her encounter with Zhuo Fan from start to finish. The youth was shocked. What? Tianyu has such a mystical power to cower spiritual beasts. The faces of everyone around them fell. This news was a nightmare. Tianyu is a true dragon among men. We can't underestimate it. Taking a deep breath, the youth stood and paced around with a frown. We, the Chuanrong, are experts in rearing beasts, able to sweep the lands with our beast army. Not even that god of war, Dugazhantian, dares face us. Only with the help of his arrays and formations can he stand on equal ground to us. But if Tianyu has someone capable of instilling fear into beasts, to the point they'd go against their master's orders, our beast army will collapse in a heartbeat. The others nodded, having reached the same dreadful conclusion. This news broke Chuanrong's strongest advantage, robbing them of any means to attack. Young chief, allow this general to purge this danger from the world. A strapping middle-aged man cupped his hands from the powerful waves he released. This man was clearly a radiant stage expert. Mulling it over, the youth shook his head in the end. No, Tianyu is in the middle of its esoteric debate. We need to use this chance and inspect the teleportation array from the shadows. The slightest mistake on our part will endanger our entire operation. Brother, you still want to do it? But that guy Lianer spoke in worry. The youth came to a decision. All the more reason. If we can't conquer Tianyu, we will never get the chance again and will lose every future war. They all nodded solemnly. Lianer sighed. But brother, is that man truly trustworthy? Can we really take Tianyu in one move? Ha ha ha. Lianer and everyone needs to relax. There is no better spy in Tianyu than that man. The youth cackled, as if the world was his oyster. Back to Zhuo Fan, he was still flying among the clouds in search of Luo Yinhai and the rest. Suddenly, his nose twitched and he changed directions. Blood! Whoosh! Zhuo Fan landed near a river soaked in blood and bodies coming from upstream. The wounds on the bodies clearly showed they were man-made. A great battle must be underway upstream, and he rushed to investigate. His discerning field was strong enough to scout 2 miles ahead in great detail. He could even see what was behind those 2 mountains in front. Zhuo Fan bypassed them with his senses and saw a great deal of men gathered at the mouth of a valley. From their signatures, he easily identified them as Luo Yinhai, Xuaningxiang, and other second- and third-rate clans outside the valley entrance were the vassals of the Regent Estates faction, forcing Yunhai's group into the valley. He had no clue who they were, but their leader couldn't be more familiar. Zhuo Fan snickered. Oh my, now a cripple goes out hunting? You must have a death wish. Quite right. The man leading the attack on Luo Yinhai was Forest Fleeting Dragon, Lin Xianfeng, albeit a one-legged dragon. But he still had the power to shock everyone. His dragon title was shaky now. But to the average profound heaven expert, he was undefeated. Lin Xianfeng looked coldly at his enemies and shouted, Listen up! I only care about the Luo clan to settle a grudge. I don't have time to waste on extras, so get lost. Or you could just follow Luo clan to their grave. The men were tense and glanced at Luo Yinhai. It was obvious Lin Xianfeng was taking it out on the Luo clan for having Zhuo Fan rip his leg clean off. Their grudges had nothing to do with these second-rate clans, although vassals of Drifting Flowers edifices, Sword Marquis Abode, and Veiled Dragon Pavilion were allies of Luo clan. They were nonetheless far from willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice in defending them. Luo Yinhai knew this, as well as he said solemnly, Our meeting was pure chance, friends. There's no need to implicate yourself as well, if you wish. Useless cripple. Our fate lies with the Luo clan. You don't scare us. Why don't you pick on Big Brother Zhuo if you have the guts? The charming voice cut Luo Yinhai off with a brash and arrogant tone. Her allies were scared witless. Young miss, if you want to defend Luo clan and die, go right ahead. We won't stop you. But could you please not drag us into this as well? And why are you even mentioning that guy's name? Are you trying to piss off Lin Xianfeng some more? How are we supposed to face that whirlwind, Lin Xianfeng? They all felt like crying, having their lifeline cut off without remorse. Shui Gang and Shui Lin looked at Shui Ningxiang with a shake of their heads. They knew she liked Zhuo Fan, but going as far as ticking off Lin Xianfeng was the worst-case scenario. Luo Yinhai looked at Shui Ningxiang. Moved. Sister Ninger, thank you. What thanks? Without big brothers around, it falls to me to keep you safe. Shui Ningxiang patted her chest with a prideful face. She was happy as long as she could do anything for Zhuo Fan, and yet her brothers were crying inside. Damn brat! How can you look after someone when you're constantly being looked after? Moreover, Luo Yinhai and his 10 guards are stronger than any of us. How can we even protect them? Luo Yinhai scratched his nose. I am grateful for Sister Ninger's good intentions, but it's best if I take Big Brother Zhuo's place and look after you. Ninger patted Luo Yunhai's head and smiled. Never mind protecting me, since Big Brother Zhuo is surely just around a corner, ready to jump in and save me. Luo Yinhai was puzzled. Ninger showed her thunder ring with a smile. Each time I'm in danger, the thunder ring flashes, and that means Big Brother Zhuo is here. Luo Yinhai sighed at how innocent and naive she was, even delusional some might say. It would be best if Big Brother Zhuo comes in the nick of time. But if you think he's going to show up each time you're in danger, won't you treat your life as a joke? Her brothers knew this as well and tried reasoning with her. But Shui Ningxiang turned a deaf ear. A girl's fairy tale was impossible to dispel. Shui Ningxiang's choice of words sure got the obvious reaction out of Lin Xianfeng. He was pissed and filled with bloodthirst. Young Master Lin, his men glanced at him. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes were bloodshot as he barked. Ignorant brat! Just kill them all and be done with them. His roar resounded in Luo Yunhai's group's ears, scaring them. Only Shui Ningxiang was closely watching Thunder Ring for any signs, waiting for that spark of hope. Chapter 277 Breakout. Chapter 277 Breakout. Kill. The war cry signaled the enemy's charge into the valley entrance. The thick bloodthirst in the air was that from a stampede of enraged bulls. The pressure was too great even for a profound heaven expert to hold on, making it harder to breathe. They all turned pale as paper. Not only was the enemy outnumbering them many times over, but they even had the strength advantage. How were they going to come out of this one? Even Luo Yinhai, who alongside the 4 tigers saw charging armies on an almost daily basis, was affected. Their side was at a gross disadvantage, be it in terrain or numbers. None of it worked in their favor. In war tactics, this situation could only be overcome by forcing one's way through if one wanted to get out alive. His jaw set. Luo Yinhai turned to his side, teetering on the verge of collapse, and shouted, Everyone, don't all of you have someone here you wish to protect? That caught their attention. Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed. They may outnumber us, but they are rabble. I can help you get your loved ones out safely. They will be in the center, while we form a circle around them as we break out of the enemy attack. We will likely lose our lives, but our loved ones will have the highest chance at survival. The dead eyes of his group finally sparked with a glimmer of hope. Brother, go in the middle. I'll protect you. Foolish child, I'm the big brother. How can I let you give your life for me? It is my duty to keep you alive. Brother, the younger brother's eyes glistened. Sister, stay close to the center and don't fall behind. Another brother patted his younger sister's shoulder. Brother-in-law, go in the middle. I'll get you out for sure. Silly boy, how can I live if you died? How will I face your sister? The man said to his wife's younger brother. They soon shed the fear instilled by the enemy's war cry, and their hearts held a deep feeling of warmth. Spurring on their will to fight to the death, Luo Yunhai nodded, grateful that his plan worked. Next up was the fight. Looking back at the savage enemy marching over, Luo Yinhai took a deep breath and, like a true marshal, He took an entire battlefield to make use of. Zhuo Fan would be so proud if he could see this boy having grown up, because Luo Yunhai's words were the right tactic for a marshal to use in this critical situation. He had to kindle the will to fight in his men if he said something along the lines of "fight alongside me to survive." The effect would hardly be noticeable. Everyone considered their lives as the number one priority, and they made sure to treasure it. But how could they overcome their fears in the face of that relentless tide marching towards them? Even if he could make them fight for their own sake, it was a flimsy reason bound to crumble at first contact. Death would follow all the same at this point, but Luo Yunhai was sharp in figuring out these people had loved ones mixed in this group. He appealed to their humanity, their conscience, their responsibility, and drove them to war, although this meant cutting their effective fighting force in half. The ones doing the protecting would give their absolute best, and more, to make sure their loved ones lived to see tomorrow. To instantly turn these random groups of people into a cohesive unit bent on fighting to the death was the sign of a great general Luo Yunhai had the hopes of becoming. "Yunhai, stay behind me. Sister will protect you." Xue Ningxiang's beaming face graced his eyes. She even flexed to back up her claim. Luo Yunhai let out an awkward chuckle. "Ha ha ha. I am grateful for your kindness, but I am the one commanding this charge. It's more important that I stay in front as well." Xue Gang and Xue Lin hoisted the overconfident and delusional. Xue Ningxiang behind. "Ninger, don't be willful. He's stronger than you. Listen to your brother and stay in the middle. Let your brothers get you to safety." Xue Ningxiang pouted, then her eyes sparked. "Then I'll stay behind Yunhai. That way I can protect him when he needs help." Helpless, they had no choice but to agree. Behind Luo Yunhai could also be said to belong to the center of the group. Somewhat, but Xue Gang and Xue Lin were not leaving her sides. Anything could happen in the spur of the moment, especially on the battlefield. They had to protect her. Similar scenes happened all around them as the people were determined to get their loved ones out alive. Luo Yunhai formed them into ranks, and as he stood in front of them, an old man stepped forward. "Young Master Luo, I'll be at your side to protect you. If I am to fall, please send my words to Grandmaster Zhuo. My greatest regret is that I wasn't good enough to have him as my master." The old man shook his head. Zhuo Fan would have a nice, dumbstruck face if he was here. Wasn't this old guy the same Lu Yijin who competed alongside Yan Song in the 100-pill meeting? He wanted to be Zhuo Fan's disciple, but Zhuo Fan wouldn't hear it. But how did he end up here then? Luo Yunhai sighed. "Grandmaster Lu is so determined. If not for Sir's guards, we'd have long been mere corpses on the ground. As long as we get out alive, I will think of a way to make Big Brother Zhuo receive you." "Thank you, young Master Luo." Grandmaster Lu nodded sadly. "Let's talk about this after we survive. Either way, being able to show my respect to Grandmaster Zhuo by helping him is gratification enough." Luo Yunhai nodded. "Grandmaster Lu is so honest and righteous." "Kill." The howls of war drew nearer. Luo Yunhai faced the enemy as the leader of his men, waiting. When the enemy was at the 100-meter mark, he led his own charge. "For our loved ones, charge!" Roar. Thunderous shouts echoed his own battle spirit, and they rushed on like a tide. The enemy was baffled at the sudden development, even as the sides clashed boom. Their morale sank to half in a blink. As if a spear pierced the great skies and left a massive hole, so did the force go through them like butter. The enemy looked dumbstruck, even the enraged Lin Xianfeng. He was watching speechless as the wedge formation went through his group. "They're 100 against my 1,000. How can we not even block their charge?" The wails and miserable cries rang in his ears. He looked in time to see his men flailing their bleeding arms and leg stumps in agony. The enemy was reaping through his men like a dragon. His men couldn't put up even a token of resistance, and it only drove him madder. For goddamn sake! What use do I have for any of you if you can't even do this much? A bunch of damn wastes is what you all are. The man next to him stammered, "Young Master Lin, This isn't our fault. They suddenly used military formations. They are only 100, but we can't even get close to them. Each time we approach, it's like we're facing 4 or 5 of them. It's baffling. Humph. What's baffling? It's just some army tactic. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes flashed eerily. Now that I think about it, that Luo clan's brat followed Dugu Zhantian for 5 years. It'd be odd if he didn't know at least this much. Blast it all to hell. We can't let Luo clan get any stronger. Spatting, Lin Xianfeng hopped and was gone. Then he flashed in front of the wedge formation. Lin Xianfeng. Luo Yinhai shouted, snickering. Lin Xianfeng mocked. Brat, you think you're so great now that you've been by Dugu Zhantian's side for a couple of years? You take me for a weakling? Think you can get away alive with just this? First I'll break your army, then I'll break your skull. Lin Xianfeng snickered and was gone again before anyone could react. He flashed in the middle of their formation, and a blue tornado sprung up. It grew until it swallowed them all, careening them into the air and breaking the formation. Luo Yinhai looked up from the ground in shock, even after Zhuo Fan ripped his leg off. Lin Xianfeng had the power to face so many people. He really was one of the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, forest-fleeting dragon. He broke their formation and flung them scattered among the enemy. They were doomed. Luo Yunhai's heart sank, his final hope leaving him. What was left was to wait and have their lives reaped. Chapter 277 Breakout. August 3rd, 2021. Index Patreon. Elite Coder. Kill. The war cry signaled the enemy's charge into the valley entrance. The thick bloodthirst in the air was that from a stampede of enraged bulls. The pressure was too great even for a profound heaven expert to hold on. Making it harder to breathe, they all turned pale as paper. Not only was the enemy outnumbering them many times over, but they even had the strength advantage. How were they going to come out of this one? Even Luo Yinhai, who alongside the 4 tigers saw charging armies on an almost daily basis, was affected. Their side was at a gross disadvantage, be it in terrain or numbers. None of it worked in their favor. In war tactics, this situation could only be overcome by forcing one's way through if one wanted to get out alive, his jaw set. Luo Yinhai turned to his side, teetering on the verge of collapse, and shouted, "Everyone, don't all of you have someone here you wish to protect?" That caught their attention. Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed. "They may outnumber us, but they are rabble. I can help you get your loved ones out safely. They will be in the center while we form a circle around them as we break out of the enemy attack. We will likely lose our lives, but our loved ones will have the highest chance at survival." The dead eyes of his group finally sparked with a glimmer of hope. "Brother, go in the middle. I'll protect you." "Foolish child. I'm the big brother. How can I let you give your life for me? It is my duty to keep you alive." "Brother." The younger brother's eyes glistened. "Sister, stay close to the center and don't fall behind." Another brother patted his younger sister's shoulder. "Brother-in-law, go in the middle. I'll get you out for sure." "Silly boy, how can I live if you died? How will I face your sister?" the man said to his wife's younger brother. They soon shed the fear instilled by the enemy's war cry, and their hearts held a deep feeling of warmth. Spurring on their will to fight to the death, Luo Yunhai nodded, grateful that his plan worked. Next up was the fight. Looking back at the savage enemy marching over, Luo Yunhai took a deep breath, and like a true marshal, he took in the entire battlefield to make use of. Zhuo Fan would be so proud if he could see this boy having grown up, because Luo Yunhai's words were the right tactic for a marshal to use in this critical situation. He had to kindle the will to fight in his men if he said something along the lines of "fight alongside me to survive." The effect would hardly be noticeable. Everyone considered their lives as the #1 priority, and they made sure to treasure it. But how could they overcome their fears in the face of that relentless tide marching towards them? Even if he could make them fight for their own sake, it was a flimsy reason bound to crumble at first contact. Death would follow all the same at this point, but Luo Yunhai was sharp in figuring out these people had loved ones mixed in this group. He appealed to their humanity, their conscience, their responsibility, and drove them to war, although this meant cutting their effective fighting force in half. The ones doing the protecting would give their absolute best and more to make sure their loved ones lived to see tomorrow, to instantly turn these random groups of people into a cohesive unit bent on fighting to the death was the sign of a great General Luo Yunhai had the hopes of becoming. Yunhai, stay behind me. Sister will protect you. Xue Ningxiang's beaming face graced his eyes. She even flexed to back up her claim. Luo Yunhai let out an awkward chuckle. Ha ha ha, I am grateful for your kindness, but I am the one commanding this charge. It's more important that I stay in front as well. Shui Gang and Xue Lin hoisted the overconfident and delusional. Xue Ningxiang behind. Ninger, don't be willful. He's stronger than you. Listen to your brother and stay in the middle. Let your brothers get you to safety. Xue Ningxiang pouted, then her eyes sparked. Then I'll stay behind Yunhai. That way I can protect him when he needs help. Helpless, they had no choice but to agree. Behind Luo Yunhai could also be said to belong to the center of the group. Somewhat, but Xue Gang and Xue Lin were not leaving her sides. Anything could happen in the spur of the moment, especially on the battlefield. They had to protect her. Similar scenes happened all around them, as the people were determined to get their loved ones out alive. Luo Yunhai formed them into ranks, and as he stood in front of them, an old man stepped forward. Young Master Luo, I'll be at your side to protect you. If I am to fall, please send my words to Grandmaster Zhuo. My greatest regret is that I wasn't good enough to have him as my master. The old man shook his head. Zhuo Fan would have a nice dumbstruck face if he was here. Wasn't this old guy the same Lu Yijin who competed alongside Yen Song in the 100-pill meeting? He wanted to be Zhuo Fan's disciple, but Zhuo Fan wouldn't hear it. But how did he end up here then? Luo Yunhai sighed. Grandmaster Lu is so determined. If not for Sir's guards, we'd have long been mere corpses on the ground. As long as we get out alive, I will think of a way to make Big Brother Zhuo receive you. Thank you, young Master Luo. Grandmaster Lu nodded sadly. Let's talk about this after we survive. Either way, being able to show my respect to Grandmaster Zhuo by helping him is gratification enough. Luo Yunhai nodded. Grandmaster Lu is so honest and righteous. Kill. The howls of war drew nearer. Luo Yunhai faced the enemy as the leader of his men, waiting. When the enemy was at the 100-meter mark, he led his own charge. For our loved ones, charge! Roar! Thunderous shouts echoed his own battle spirit, and they rushed on like a tide. The enemy was baffled at the sudden development, even as the sides clashed. Boom. Their morale sank to half in a blink. As if a spear pierced the great skies and left a massive hole, so did the force go through them like butter. The enemy looked dumbstruck, even the enraged Lin Xianfeng. He was watching speechless as the wedge formation went through his group. There are 100 against my 1,000. How can we not even block their charge? The wails and miserable cries rang in his ears. He looked in time to see his men flailing their bleeding arms and leg stumps in agony. The enemy was reaping through his men like a dragon. His men couldn't put up even a token of resistance, and it only drove him madder. For goddamn sake! What use do I have for any of you if you can't even do this much? A bunch of damn wastes is what you all are. The man next to him stammered, Young Master Lin, this isn't our fault. They suddenly used military formations. They are only 100, but we can't even get close to them. Each time we approach, it's like we're facing 4 or 5 of them. It's baffling. Humph. What's baffling? It's just some army tactic. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes flashed eerily. Now that I think about it, that Luo clan's brat followed Dugujantian for 5 years. It'd be odd if he didn't know at least this much. Blast it all to hell. We can't let Luo clan get any stronger. Spatting, Lin Xianfeng hopped and was gone. Then he flashed in front of the wedge formation. Lin Xianfeng, Luo Yunhai shouted, snickering. Lin Xianfeng mocked. Brett, you think you're so great now that you've been by Dugujantian's side for a couple of years? You take me for a weakling? Think you can get away alive with just this? First I'll break your army, then I'll break your skull. Lin Xianfeng snickered and was gone again before anyone could react. He flashed in the middle of their formation, and a blue tornado sprung up. It grew until it swallowed them all. Careening them into the air and breaking the formation, Luo Yunhai looked up from the ground in shock, even after Zhuo Fan ripped his leg off. Lin Xianfeng had the power to face so many people. He really was one of the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, forest fleeting dragon. He broke their formation and flung them scattered among the enemy. They were doomed. Luo Yunhai's heart sank, his final hope leaving him. What was left was to wait and have their lives reaped. Chapter 278, Void Annihilation's Power. Chapter 278, Void Annihilation's Power. Ah! The cries of agony pierced the skies as the enemy began its slaughter. With their formation broken and outnumbered 10-1, their hopes of surviving were dashed. Just like a mouse squeezed around by a mighty dragon, their will to fight had collapsed. Replaced by utter despair, Luo Yunhai gnashed his teeth and got onto his feet. He wanted to reorganize his ranks. He wasn't about to give up as long as there was an inkling of hope, but as soon as he got to his feet, he was kicked flying, with blood flowing from his lips, coughing blood. Luo Yunhai glared at the cocky and snickering Lin Xianfeng. Brat, you're finished. So behave and wait there for me to take your head and present it to Zhuo Fan. I wonder what face he'll make, ha ha ha. Humph, let's see you try. You think the next time he'll stop at 1 leg? Luo Yunhai retorted in mockery. Lin Xuanfeng's mood sank dangerously. Lo, his life was smooth sailing, the pride of merry woods. No one ever showed any disrespect to someone of his talent. Then he met Zhuo Fan, and everything spiraled out of control. Him becoming a laughingstock, his leg was ripped off, and hence he suffered endless ridicule that had affected his state of mind to such a degree that it had cast a shadow over him. Not even he wanted to admit such a disgrace happened to him, and yet Luo Yunhai went on poking his sore spot, earning his wrath. Damn punk! You think we can't deal with that, Zhuo Fan? Humph! Let me tell you, we've long been ready to end him. He's living on borrowed time. You're the first to go, and the bastard will soon follow you to your grave. Lin Xianfeng lifted his yuan qi-soaked palm. Winding up for the finale, Luo Yunhai was worried. His fists clenched, but not over his safety. It was for Zhuo Fan's he sensed from Lin Xuanfeng's tone that those words weren't empty threats. They may very well have grasped Zhuo Fan's weakness. He had to warn Zhuo Fan before it was too late. How was he going to do that, though, when he was too powerless to even protect himself? Luo Yunhai's inner conflict left him in a mess. Lin Xianfeng took it as fear. Ha ha ha. Here I thought you'd be a man of courage, having followed Dugujantian for years. But deep down, you're just a spineless coward. Don't worry, I'll leave your corpse intact, out of respect for Dugujantian. Lin Xianfeng launched his palm attack like a fierce storm. Stop! No one can harm the Luo clan's young master, an aged voice shouted. Just as a red-hot flame shot for Lin Xianfeng, only snickered Lu Yijin came to the rescue. With his 4th-level spiritual beast flame, but his flame looked nothing more than a candle to Lin Xianfeng. You senile old fool dare mess in my affairs? Get lost. Thump! A flick of the hand had a blue wind scatter the flimsy flame to nothing. Lu Yijin spat blood and collapsed. Pale grinning, Lin Xianfeng turned to Luo Yunhai. No one's going to save you now. Stop. It was a delicate voice this time. Xue Ningxiang popped out of nowhere and stood between them. You'll have to go through me first. You again. Squinting, he clearly recalled Xue Ningxiang shouting cripple left and right. Humph, don't you worry. Once I'm through with him, you're next. Ninger. Xue Gang and Xue Lin rushed over, but Lin Xuanfeng's flick of the hand left them sprawling and heavily wounded with a twisted smile, a promise of cruelty that was to come. Lin Xuanfeng's yuan qi exploded. And stay down. Humph, we won't die. Big brother Zhui will save us. Xue Ningxiang faced him without an ounce of fear. Lin Xianfeng jerked, looking around frantic. Zhuo Fan, where? Is he close? Xue Ningxiang laughed. Ha ha ha, how the mighty have fallen. I knew you're scared of big brother Zhuo. Luo Yinhai shook his head apparently. Zhuo Fan did more than simply pull a leg. He had also scarred the guy mentally. You damn brat dare to lie to me. Zhuo Fan would never stand still in this situation if he was here. Lin Xuanfeng's anger flared. Two brats got the best of the grand and mighty forest fleeting dragon. They had scared him just by mentioning Zhuo Fan. He would never hear the end of it if word got out. Lin Xuanfeng's eyes looked at Xue Ningxiang with bloodthirst, wishing nothing more than to wring her pretty neck. Blasted bint! You 2ve been a pain in my rear from the moment we met. Lin Xuanfeng's hand was wrapped in a blue wind and slapped at Xue Ningxiang's chest. Luo Yinhai was too hurt to try and stop him. He could only watch the sinister palm inching towards Xue Ningxiang's chest. Big brother Zhui! Xue Ningxiang cried, her eyes focused on the dead thunder ring. Then she closed her eyes and prayed for a miracle. Luo Yinhai could only sigh. Zhuo Fan was no god. It was impossible for him to watch over her around the clock like a guardian angel. Xue Gang and Xue Lin crawled on, while bleeding in a desperate attempt to reach her. Why was their foolish sister so zealous in her faith? The last two times were sheer coincidences. Zhuo Fan won't always watch over you when you need him the most. So why are you so stubborn? Lin Xianfeng laughed. Zhuo Fan won't come brat. Die haha. Though clueless, their entire drama was laid before Zhuo Fan's eyes 2 miles out. Thanks to his soul sense, he saw how Xue Ningxiang and Luo Yinhai were together, and he also saw Lin Xuanfeng's strike closing in on them. Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed with 2 golden halos, and an invisible beam shot out, passing through any and all obstacles, straight for its target. Divine Eye of the Void's second stage. Void Annihilation Whoosh. It shot fast as light, passing through everything like they were nothing in the middle of the slaughter. A hum became apparent as a sudden hole appeared on the men in its path. Without any warning, blood flowed even as the men were oblivious to their doom. It was just too fast, too sudden. Lin Xuanfeng's hand was inches from Xue Ningxiang when the hum passed, robbing him of his hand. It left behind a bleeding stump. Lin Xianfeng was too dumbstruck to even react. What was that? Why is my hand gone? He didn't even feel a thing. One moment it was there and poof, gone the next. It was faster than getting it chopped off. Xue Ningxiang and Luo Yinhai were equally baffled. Lin Xianfeng stiffly looked around to see a line of men with oddly missing parts of their bodies. Bleeding out. Looking further, he saw a hole in the valley side, black as night. Zhuo Fan used Void Annihilation from 2 miles away to rob his hand, and anything in its path. It was an all-powerful ability, able to target anyone regardless of distance. Zhuo Fan's enemies would never know rest if they knew he possessed such divine might. Or the moment they dropped their guard, their chest would sport a sudden extra large hole. Not that Lin Xianfeng knew that. He only looked at the black hole in dread. This is too freaky. What the hell was that? Who could possibly kill so many men in a blink? It even exceeded Forest Fleeting Dragon's reaction and robbed him off his hand. What kind of godly skill was that? In the middle of their shock and despair, Zhuo Fan used his yuan qi to shout, God damn it, Lin Xianfeng! You dare touch my people, you bastard! Don't move a muscle. I'll be right there to rip your head off myself. His yell passed through the black hole and into the valley, so loud it even quaked mountains. It was as if the 2 mountains spoke. Such awe-inspiring power scared everyone present into freezing and paling. Are the mountains threatening us? Balls! Did our battle wake up a local god? Only Lin Xianfeng recognized the voice. He shook like a leaf. He would never forget the owner of that voice in his life, the same soaring demonic dragon who ripped off his leg. Chapter 279 Godlike. Chapter 279 Godlike. Elite Coder. The silence was deafening. The unanimous reaction to this ludicrous situation was one of utter shock and amazement. Then they all started shivering. Lin Xianfeng included. Their eyes turned to the shaking mountains. Words stuck in their throat. Only Luo Yunhai and Xuanningsiang were happy. Ever since the shout came, they knew with utmost certainty that Shui Fan had come through for them. "Ah, young Master Lin." The man next to Lin Xianfeng began speaking, wanting to ask for suggestion as to their next course of action, only to notice that the dude had bolted. Rotten, useless Lin Xianfeng. Who was it that shouted the loudest while charging? Who was it that cursed us as good for nothing? And yet, when it came to running, no one was faster. I spit on you. How can such a yellow-bellied, lily-livered rat be in the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix? The man looked around to find everyone loosing their will to fight. It was only natural when one stopped and thought about the monster coming to Luo clan's rescue, the same freak who scared Lin Xianfeng away. So why should we stay here to die? Without further ado, he shouted, "Retreat!" Roused up, the men followed behind Lin Xianfeng without any complaint. The winning side from a moment ago was now running away miserably. They even forewent their wounded, selfishly holding their lives as the number 1 priority. Luo Yunhai side. Big Brother Zhuo is amazing to the extreme. One shout is enough to scare them away. It's even more effective than our wedge formation. Xue Ningxiang nodded cutely, her eyes blazing. She hadn't even seen his figure. Yet Zhuo Fan's valor and might thoroughly turned her into his number 1 Fan Shui gang, and Xue Lin shook their heads. Zhuo Fan's timely save was more than welcome. But that sister of theirs sank even deeper into her unhealthy obsession of him, no doubt about it. Xuanningsiang's belief that Zhuo Fan would be there to save her every single time was now firmly engraved into the very core of her being. This delusion was far from healthy. Her brothers shook their helpless heads. Ninger hadn't once listened to their advice so far, and the repeated near saves, courtesy of Zhuo Fan, only worked to make her go against them even more. The two sighed. Then they followed up with the usual glee of finding their lease on life extended and looked after the wounded. 15 minutes later, a thunderclap signaled the landing of a black figure. They were greeted by none other than soaring, demonic dragon, Zhuo Fan. Surveying the battlefield, Zhuo Fan cursed. That blasted Lin Xianfeng ran again. The next time he won't be so lucky. I'll make sure to pull his other leg and get him to crawl like a beggar. The people were scared, but the reverence was obvious from their expressions of Tianyu's youngest generation. Only soaring demonic dragon dared challenge 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. If it were them, not in a million years would they even conceive such a radical and preposterous idea. Not to mention suicidal, it only made them see Zhuo Fan in a new light. Holding him in complete admiration, this was a truly fearless man, a man of courage and endless valor. Ignoring these peasants, Zhuo Fan's eyes snapped to Xuanningsiang and Luo Yunhai in glee. "Are you all right?" Xuanningsiang shook her head, bashful. "Don't worry, Big Brother Zhuo, I'm fine. I knew you'd come and save me." She then touched her thunder ring. Zhuo Fan chuckled and waved as the thunder ring on his own hand glinted. "Big Brother, Grandmaster Lu already gave me a healing pill. I'll soon be back to full health." Luo Yunhai smiled with a pale face, raising an eyebrow. Zhuo Fan turned to the old man. "Grandmaster Lu?" "Ha ha ha, Grandmaster Zhuo, it's been a long time." Lu Yijin bowed. Zhuo Fan was puzzled. "What are you doing here? Didn't esoteric debate have the 30 years age ban?" "Grandmaster Lu, how old are you really?" Grandmaster Zhuo, I am not a participant, nor did I know Beast King Mountain was to be the location for the esoteric debate's final battle. It was pure coincidence," Lu Yijin explained. Sizing him up, Zhuo Fan was very much doubtful still, really now. "Honest to God, it must be fate for me and Grandmaster Zhuo to meet again." Lu Yijin's genial response came. Zhuo Fan snickered. "Oh, please cut the act. What fate could possibly be tying us?" Lu Yijin hanged his head. Luo Yunhai interjected. "Big Brother Zhuo, We were lucky to have Grandmaster Lu here, or many more would have perished. He is Luo clan's benefactor. I heard he is very eager to take you as his master. What if? Lu Yijin, it's been so long, yet you're still dead set on this idea? Zhuo Fan cut him off with a stare on Lu Yijin. Lu Yijin nodded furiously. Yes. Grandmaster, Zhuo's alchemy is the pinnacle among all the alchemists I've seen. To be your disciple is my lifelong wish. In that case, Zhuo Fan squinted. Fine. We are short on hands, and your timely arrival is most welcome. If you can protect the Luo clan in this esoteric debate, I will be inclined to reconsider your request in favor of your rendered services. I will do my very best and live up to Grandmaster Zhuo's expectations. Lu Yijin bowed. Zhuo Fan nodded. Luo Yinhai was thrilled and cupped his hand to Lu Yijin. While also gleeful that he managed to sway Zhuo Fan, Lu Yijin replied in kind, grateful to him for making the cold Zhuo Fan, as 7 years ago, give him some attention in this manner. Lu Yijin joined the Luo clan, looking after the wounded. Since Zhuo Fan had nothing to do, he stood guard at the valley entrance. It was because of this man that the men could heal in peace. Soaring demonic dragon was on par with the 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. There was no one out there who could make them feel safer. Zhuo Fan stood guard for 10 days, waiting for the others to heal. But while the battle on this side ended, another was on the brink of erupting in a lush part of the forest. A towering jade, reaching the height of 2 people, was standing next to a large tree. Upon a closer look, it bore a striking resemblance to those national elemental stones. It was precisely the wood-type array to send them back. On either side of it were 2 armed forces. On one hand was Drifting Flowers Edifices, Chu Qingqing, Sword Marquis Abode, Xie Tianshang, and Veiled Dragon Pavilions, Long Xingyun, with their people. The other side was led by Regent Estates, Huangpu Qingtian, Hell Valley's Yuyushan, and Pilking Hall's Yanbongi. All they needed was a spark to throw this place into the chaos of war. Their standoff was clearly visible beyond the wood exit array. As Dragon Cloud City's every major clan and house watched in trepidation, Huangpu Tianyuan snickered, speaking high and mighty, yet casually at the same time. The brimming sacred pill will be ours. No surprise there. Ha ha ha. Yuan Shan and Yen Bagong nodded in pride. It feels so good, so overbearing, to stand by Regent Estate, Drifting Flowers Edifices, Veiled Dragon Pavilion, and Sword Marquis Abode's house leader looked like they were on pensive. They had no choice but to admit the battle was going to be completely one-sided. Huangpu Qingtian's presence alone turned the tide of this battle out of their favor. The brimming sacred pill was before the wood exit, and it was Chu Qingqing's group who found it first. Yet none realized Huangpu Qingtian's faction, tailing them the fight over the brimming sacred pill, was on the brink of igniting. But their faction had no hope of overcoming the other, not with heaven-shaking Dragon Lord in the mix. Damn monster! Grandmother gnashed her teeth, while Huangpu Tianyuan laughed. Unrestrained Zhuge Changfeng was only twirling his mustache in thought. Indeed, one side has a freak of nature, while the other's side own monster has yet to come. Things don't bode well for them. Surrender is advised. That got a rise out of the crowd. Yeah, heaven-shaking Dragon Lord is there, and Zhuo Fan is nowhere in sight. From what they heard of the 2 monsters' first contact, Zhuo Fan could hold his own against heaven-shaking Dragon Lord, but where was their most important piece at this crucial time? The people started to regret. What ally is he if he doesn't show up when needed? Achoo! Facing the morning sun, Zhuo Fan was struck by an incomprehensible bout of sneezing that sent his whole body shivering. What the hell? Who's the bastard talking behind my back? Zhuo Fan rubbed his nose in anger. Chapter 280, The Power of One. Chapter 280, The Power of One. Tap. Huangpu Qingtian's every step instilled dignity and nobility, neither forced nor rushed. Chu Qingqing's group was unnerved. Taking steps back in contrast, the pressure was so big. Each of his step made them back away faster. Drifting Flowers Edifices, Veiled Dragon Pavilion, and Sword Marquis Abode had thousands of people behind them. Yet faced with but a single man, they all shirked further back. A truly laughable and ridiculous scene yet to the parties involved. Humor was the last thing on their minds. When faced with the head of 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, Huangpu Qingtian, all they could feel was fear and dread. Yushan and Yen Bongi had thousands behind them as well that just stood there, watching the other faction with contempt in the face of Huangpu Qingtian. Anyone would end up a sorry sight if they switched places. Yushan's group had no doubt in their mind they would end up the same way as to why the situation devolved in such a way. It all came down to Chu Qingqing's groups. Rotten luck. Or maybe having known so little about Regent Estate, yet insisting on making an enemy out of them. How long are you going to shirk back? Huangpu Qingtian stopped at some point with a beaming and noble smile. Hand over the brimming sacred pill, and I'll let you go. Frowning, Chu Qingqing gnashed her teeth in silence. Her allies clenched her fists at the naked scorn handing over what the 3 houses found was total humiliation. Long Xingyin muled. It's best we're flexible. And smiled. Young Master Huangpu, is this how Regent Estate's eldest young master carries himself? You're no different from a shameless bandit at this point. There are 4 brimming, sacred pill out there, so why are you after ours in particular? Ha ha ha, Long Xingyun, I knew you're a smooth talker, preaching sophistry. True, Regent Estate isn't too keen on robbing you, but did you forget? This here is the esoteric debate where might makes right. Everything belongs to the strongest. With a snicker, Huangpu Qingtian's eyes flashed with greed and snatched at the air. That is why all of them will be mine. You better hand it over now, or what fight? Xie Tianshang snapped as he shot in the air, drawing his sword and releasing such shocking energy it reached the skies. The sword energy shuddered all who looked at it, feeling as if 10,000 swords were about to pierce them. Even Yen Bongi and Yu Yushan turned serious. Eyeing him with a sigh, Xie Tianshang is a true sword talent. It was their first time seeing sword energy reaching such a level. Thinking about it, they were no match for him in a straight-out fight. Long Xingyin looked at the hovering figure stunned. It had been, what, a few days? How did he get so strong? And yet, Huangpu Qingtian's calm demeanor left Long Xingyin sighing. Compared to this monster, Xie Tianshang had a long way to go. But even so, they had to fight regardless. Long Xingyin shot his hands forward. Energy hummed off his hands and released a powerful attack. There was a dragon roar echo, and when the energy was upon Huangpu Qingtian, it shot for the ground. The earth beneath Huangpu Qingtian exploded as a dragon opened its maw to swallow him. Profound, ranked martial art. See, upturning dragon palm! Long Xingyin roared. He didn't finish, as a loud boom splintered the huge dragon into nothingness. Huangpu Qingtian shined golden as he walked out of the attack, looking down on all creation. Long Xingyin coughed blood, having just been injured internally. Xie Tianshang clutched his sword and shot for Huangpu Qingtian. The piercing light of his sword tip was as dazzling as the night stars that pulverized anything it touched and left only this outstanding light. This was Sword Marquis Abode's profound, ranked martial art, flowing spaces, 9 forms, strongest attack, extinction. When this sword flew, everything was erased. Abode Lord Xie Xiaofeng watched in awe and pride. His house's strongest move being unleashed just beyond the wood national elemental stone. The son had surpassed the father with how much stronger the move was than his own. He was certain his son would become an even more remarkable abode lord than himself. Huangpu Tianyuan mocked. Abode Lord Xie, to be so prideful of your son's meager achievements. Aren't you perhaps thinking so little of him? Xie Xiaofeng snorted. I know of Regent Estate's eldest young master's godlike talent, but I'll have to say that not even he can take this attack without consequence. Oh, we shall see, grinned Huangpu Tianyuan, and his elders joined him in mocking the man. Xie Xiaofeng's heart seized in fright, turning to see the shocking scene beyond the wood stone as the glaring sword attack came closer. Huangpu Qingtian merely pointed at the dazzling dot of light boom. The space cracked and seemed to have been torn open. A bright golden light met with the sword attack. swallowing it whole. The almighty sword attack crumbled under the finger's power and forced Xie Tianshang into a bout of spitting blood. He was on his knees, even if having received but a light wound. How? Xie Xiaofeng cried. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed. Abode, Lord Xie. I told you, my son's talent is in a league of its own. Speaking of power, he has surpassed his father since 5 years ago. Say what? They were still trying to process this development, yet now they found Huangpu Qingtian had long since surpassed the current estate lord. It was a known fact that Regent Estate had the best talents in Tianyu, capable of holding their own if it ever came to face the other 6 houses. Huangpu Tianyuan was of an even greater talent and a peak profound heaven cultivator as well, that made him the strongest profound heaven cultivator in Tianyu, yet here he was stating Huangpu Qingtian surpassed him since 5 years ago. Even more so when that Huangpu Qingtian wasn't even at peak profound heaven stage, now that he was at peak profound heaven stage and mastered killing with intent. Did that mean he could face a radiant stage expert? How on earth can one beat that? The faces of others sank as they cursed this rotten monster. Huangpu Tianyuan looked awfully proud standing there, but his heart was bleeding, cursing his monster of a son as well. It was this monstrous talent that threatened his estate lord position. It may very well come to be that once the esoteric debate was over, his son would be entitled in his demand for him to hand over his throne. That was one outcome. He never hoped to see it, went so far that he even hoped his son would die at Zhuo Fan's hands, of course. There was no way he'd be so open as to share his thoughts. Huangpu Qingtian was the hope of all venerables, if not the entire Regent Estate. Any that dared to even show a hint of dissatisfaction with him would be culled on the spot, estate lord included. The venerables would make sure of that Huangpu Qingtian was the apple of Regent Estate, their hope for the future, and they weren't about to let it be snuffed out. Huangpu Tianyuan looked on at the prideful and imperial figure beyond the wood national elemental stone with killing intent. Huangpu Qingtian put his finger away and laughed at the kneeling Xie Tianshang. Ha ha ha, how amusing. Who knew you could grow so strong in such a short time? You're way stronger than those 2 behind me. Pledge yourself to me, and you won't regret it. They all looked shocked. This was daylight talent robbery. I am from Sword Marquis's abode. It is not my choice who our allies are. Xie Tianshang laughed, happy Huangpu Qingtian was finally giving him some time of day. Huangpu Qingtian shook his head. Stubborn fool! Whether the 7 houses or the whole world, it will be ours. Those old geezers will soon find themselves between 4 walls and 6 feet under. Why would you care about their decisions? Just agree, and the entire Sword Marquis's abode will agree as well. Huangpu Qingtian turned to Chu Qingqing and Long Xingyun. You 2 as well. Swear yourself to me, and the esoteric debate will end here and now. The 7 houses will be eternally one. Not just Chu Qingqing's group was shocked, but even Dragon Cloud City's Sides clan elders watched Huangpu Qingtian incredulous. It was the leader of a clan that made decisions, not their top disciple, yet this Huangpu Qingtian not only circumvented his estate lord, but even spat in the face of the rest of those geezers. This was a gross lack of respect, a power play, and disregard for the others above his station. This was something no one, not even young masters of other houses, would dare to utter, yet Huangpu Qingtian did this out in the open. He didn't even care that he was stealing his father's position. They all turned to see Huangpu Tianyuan's face ashen from anger, while the elders couldn't care less. They even nodded. At that point, people realized that this was perhaps the true power of a monarch. Chapter 281, Blizzard Dragon Slash. Chapter 281, Blizzard Dragon Slash. In front of the National Elemental Stone, the people stared shockingly at Huangpu Qingtian, especially Luo Yinchang. She was sweating and plagued with worry if the 3 houses' disciples fell to Huangpu Qingtian's wild and overreaching ambition. It would be tantamount to throwing Zhuo Fan to the wolves. No matter how strong Zhuo Fan was, he couldn't face all 7 houses' experts by himself. It didn't take long for Chu Qingqing, Xie Tianshang, and Long Xingyun to reach a conclusion. They unanimously shook their heads. Their minds made raising an eyebrow. Huangpu Qingtian had seen it coming, but was still somewhat in disbelief. Why make such an unwise and detrimental decision? Humph! If you can scare me with some pretty words, I will never be able to hold my head up high. I will be blaming myself more than anyone else would. That is one future I don't want to see. Long Xingyun snickered. Speaking from the bottom of his heart, Huangpu Qingtian shook his head in contempt. What value could dignity and self-respect have in the face of true power? This is your only chance. Take it or become my enemies. The three saw the determination in each other's eyes and were resolved to fight alongside each other. Huangpu Qingtian snorted. You asked for it. Don't come crying later when you're starting to regret. Huangpu Qingtian disappeared with a light step. The next thing they knew was his sudden appearance before the trio so fast. The three jerked. They knew Huangpu Qingtian was the strongest, but had heard nothing of his speed, which was obviously even higher than Lin Xianfeng. They couldn't even react, as they were already on the ground. How did his cultivation reach such perfection, having both unbridled power and unmatched speed? Damn monster! The three gnashed their teeth in shock. But they were still 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, and recovered their calm. Quickly, Chu Qingqing grabbed her allies and covered them in a cold barrier. The two then attacked Xie Tianshang's sword flashed, and Long Xingyun's palm held a dragon image. Perhaps Chu Qingqing's cold had an influence, as the sword wave and the dragon image fused with the coldness while passing through the barrier. They transformed into a huge attack that slammed towards Huangpu Qingtian. This sword attack was tens of times stronger than Xie Tianshang's previous attack. Even Huangpu Qingtian had to get serious. They know a combination art? How? Yan Bongyi and Yu Shan cried in shock. Those watching the show beyond the National Elemental Stone were slack-jawed. A combination art needed the users to be in tune at the intrinsic level from a young age. But for 3 of them to achieve it, not to mention being no more than strangers before the esoteric debate, it boggled the minds of all those witnessing such a miracle. Only grandmother knew why this was made possible by Chu Qingqing. Speaking of monsters, Chu Qingqing didn't lack in that department, just that her monstrous talent went in a different direction. Blizzard, dragon, slash! The 3 shouted and the sword image held. It stormed Huangpu Qingtian, freezing everything in its wake, even the number 1 monster. Huangpu Qingtian had another thing coming if he took this attack with the same carefree attitude as before for the first time ever. Huangpu Qingtian's face showed shock. Who knew these 3 could combine their power? Who knew they could unleash such an onslaught? Gnashing his teeth, Huangpu Qingtian grabbed the slash with his naked hand. The worst thing to do in this case, it exploded into 9 ice dragons, hammering Huangpu Qingtian from all directions. Boom! A loud noise shook the heavens, but no explosion occurred. Once the cold air scattered, Huangpu Qingtian was encased in ice. He froze in the grasping motion from before, giving the impression that even his soul was frozen. Eldest young master! Yu Yushan and Yan Bongyi panicked and looked at Chu Qingqing's trio with shock. They could actually handle heaven-shaking Dragon Lord Huangpu Qingtian. Beyond the National Elemental Stone, the audience couldn't believe what they were seeing. The almighty Huangpu Qingtian was frozen over by a combination art. None saw it coming, only drifting flowers edifices, soared marquise abode, and veiled dragon pavilions higher ups grinned in pride. They finally turned things around. But the eerie calm Regent Estate held itself in, threw them into worry and doubt. Can it be? Grandmother's heart sank. Roar. A dragon roar got everyone's attention. The smiling Chu Qingqing and her allies had no time to celebrate as they turned to the source, Huangpu Qingtian. In the middle of that iceberg sported scales. They shone golden, and then a golden dragon shot from him into the sky. The iceberg exploded into pieces, setting the stage for a shiny and golden Huangpu Qingtian to step out of the remains in all his glory. The golden dragon made a circle above him before going back into his body. It's the same as before in Dragon Cloud City. What is that thing? Long Xingyun muttered, shell-shocked at the disappearing golden dragon. Huangpu Qingtian's face was unsightly as he spat. I have to give you guys credit. There's hardly anyone in this world who can bring me this close to defeat. Not bad at all. But this is precisely why I have to thoroughly beat some sense into you, so no one would challenge their king. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes flashed with bloodthirst as he shot forth the three jerked and held hands again. But Huangpu Qingtian's uncanny speed and dreadful might came at them in the form of a palm, 9 dragons, diamond body, dragon, empowered claw. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes flashed and struck, without hesitation. Chu Qingqing covered the trio in a cold barrier, but it crumbled before the attack even arrived. With a loud boom, the earth sank as if from a meteor strike, leaving a 100-meter wide crater. The trio spat blood, feeling the huge pressure bearing on their shoulders. Stopping them from even moving this was Huangpu Qingtian's power, and this was the power of but one palm. They banded together and encased him in ice. But even that wasn't enough to even scratch him. This monster appeared, for all intents and purposes, invincible. The three sighed and had a defeated look, having finally realized the difference between them. Huangpu Qingtian took in their pain, disappointment, and despair. With a cold, I take out the brimming sacred pill. Huangpu Qingtian said, or I will go through each and every one of you here in my search. Huangpu Qingtian's looked scared the 1,000+ people behind the trio. He treated them like dirt, needing only to pinch them before popping. Xia Tianyang wished nothing more than to give his all in fighting him. But when he recalled what his brother had said earlier, he forced it down, but the resentment only burned hotter in his heart. Chu Qingqing closed her eyes and her hand held a vial. She held her shaking hand and said, "Just take it and go." Humph! Why go through all this trouble when you could have spared yourself the suffering by taking it out from the start? Huangpu Qingtian sneered as he left with the vial in hand. He was far from done mocking them, though. I'll let you guys off this time. But in the off chance you find another brimming sacred pill, do think of me and fetch it over. As you very well know, only the strong are entitled to wealth. You guys are sorely lacking. Ha ha ha. The endless humiliation struck the trio hard, but not even their best could harm Huangpu Qingtian, the audience beyond the national elemental stone side. Huangpu Qingtian was of such insane power that not even a combination art between 3 geniuses could do anything to him, as they all had gotten so engrossed in the show they had failed to notice 2 shadows hiding in the bushes. One of them snickered at Huangpu Qingtian leaving. This kid ain't half bad. He's just as they say, and the one we need. At least we didn't come to Tianyu for nothing. The other shadow looked in another direction, however. The first one noticed and found him eyeing Chu Qingqing. Humph! By the looks of things, that crotchety geezer has found his target as well. He sneered. Chapter 282, Challenge. Chapter 282, Challenge. Sister Qingqing, are you all right? Xiao Dandan rushed a helping hand to Chu Qingqing. Xia Tianyang and Long Xingyun were helped by Xia Tianshang and Long Jia with Long Kuei. All of them watched the triumphant king strut away with bitterness. Even the thousands of vassal disciples lowered their heads in despair. Drifting Flowers edifices, Sword Marquis abode, and Veiled Dragon pavilion's morale was thoroughly shattered by Huangpu Qingtian. What could possibly instill a sense of courage in them now, to face the one who looked down upon them with such scorn? Yan Bongi and Yu Yushan, along with the nice doggies left behind, were full of crass and haughty looks. It seemed that following a master had its perks. A perk of showing off. By no means did they want to let this slide. But what could they do besides take the humiliation with lowered heads, trying to at least avoid the cocky faces of their oppressors? Chu Qingqing bit her lip until she drew blood. The sigh she gave felt like it sapped all her strength. We need to find the key to the array now. Let's go. The others turned to her with a sigh and a shake of their heads. What was originally a search for the array key, to become first and crowned champion in Dragon Cloud City, had now become an excuse for running away. The winner wasn't the first to return. but the one who snatched all brimming sacred pills, like Huangpu Qingdan said. Only the strong could hold on to all of the riches, and they didn't fit the bill. At her words, Huangpu Qingtian's step faltered for a second, but now he sported an even wider smirk of disdain. His lackeys were even more obvious in their mockery, laughing it up. Beyond the national elemental stone, Regent Estate's top figures were sporting the same disdain. To the sinking and wretched feelings their opposing faction was wallowing in this battle had seemed to predict the winner. There was no point in fighting any longer. The gap in power was too huge to be even bridged. Rustle. At the sudden sound, Huangpu Qingtian snapped his eyes on the source with a frown. "Who's there?" Whoosh! A panicked and bedraggled figure hopped out. He found Huangpu Qingtian and burst in tears of joy. "Eldest young master, I finally found you. Save me." "Oh, it's you." Huangpu Qingtian squinted. "Lin Xianfeng, you look like you've seen a ghost." How the mighty had fallen. Lin Xianfeng, of 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, used to be a man of culture, of dignity. Now look at him. He was nothing but a bum scared of his own shadow, although not undeserving, since he was also sporting a missing hand. Not just Huangpu Qingtian's team, but Chu Qingqing's side as well jerked. The one-legged man may be half crippled, but he still had some fight left in him. He would never look so jittery even if he met some serious danger, and yet, look at him now. He was like a rabbit, scared of his own shadow. What could have driven such fear into a man such as him? And you call yourself Forest Fleeting Dragon? Uncaring and ignorant of the looks he got, Lin Xianfeng dashed behind Huangpu Qingtian, shivering and pointing at the trees. "Eldest young master, save me! That freak is coming." "Who's coming?" "You mean," then it hit Huangpu Qingtian, and his mood turned heavy. Yet all he could sense were some spiritual beast's paw. Backslapping him into the air, Huangpu Qingtian cursed. "What are you raving about? He's not coming." "He isn't? But I clearly heard him 10 days ago how he wants to wring my neck." Lin Xianfeng didn't even register his red cheek, looking back from where he came with a bemused look and breathed easily the gratified look, the sheer joy he was expressing of having faced death and escaped, only earned him looks of pity. Just how terrified he must have been to show such an expression of joy. Beyond the national elemental stone, sympathizers of Chu Qingqing's faction found Lin Xianfeng to be in an even worse state. Mary Wood's house, Lord Lin, was between red and blue. The anger he felt from being shamed by this brat was barely contained. "You friggin', I didn't send you to esoteric debate to flounce around and shame me, but to make me look good." Oh, the cruel, cruel irony. He was mocking Drifting Flowers edifices and the others getting stung by Huangpu Qingtian. But now it was his turn to face the music. He saw how his disciple disgraced him, and swished his head back in shame. "That's karma." Chu Qingqing's team's eyes held a glimmer of hope. Huangpu Qingtian glared at Lin Xianfeng with a cold face. "You're saying you saw him 10 days ago? But how did you get out alive? He could have easily killed you if he wanted to." I never actually saw him." Lin Xianfeng jumped in fright, then lowered his head, confused. "But I clearly heard him wanting to wring my neck." "What? You're telling me his voice alone scared you into running around for 10 days? Useless." Even hearing it himself got Huangpu Qingtian to blow his top, itching to cuff the man again. Lin Ruffeng gnashed his teeth. God, how mortifying. "You're a damn dragon, for God's sake. How in the hell did you get so scared into running for so long? And you didn't even see his shadow." The rest mocked him on the inside and showed their disdain. Even the audience beyond the national elemental stone. Some of the jokes were targeted at Lin Ruffeng, who wanted nothing more than to bury his head from shame. Even the broads from Drifting Flowers edifices know to fight back against an impossible enemy. Yet you jumped the gun, scared from just his voice. Lin Xianfeng could practically feel the ridiculous looks boring holes in his back and snapped at his snickering allies next to him. "What are you laughing at? You'd have run with your tail between your legs, just the same if it were you instead. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that brat sure is a calamity. We admit we'd never face him alone. But even so, none of us would be so quick to lose their heads just from his voice. At the very least, we'd wait to see him, you know? Ha ha ha. Yen Bongi and Yu Yushan laughed it up. This only worked to launch the ones behind those two houses into a full-blown laughter, though they did have the modesty to shut up quite fast, in fear of what Mary Woods might do. One couldn't tell what was worse, stifling their obvious laughter, evident from their red faces, or letting it out. Lin Xianfeng went purple now and barked, "You know nothing of how deadly that situation was." The guy didn't show himself, but he took my hand from 1,000 miles. You'd have run too if you met with such a creepy situation. Lin Xianfeng was still hopping about, his face a mask of anger. The laughter stopped, and all eyes drew on the smooth stump of his arm. The dread creeped up their spines and robbed them of any jovial mood they ever had. This can't be. Huangpu Qingtian squinted and pulled the arm closer. You're saying you never saw the guy, yet he took your hand. I didn't even realize what happened, and the next thing I knew my hand was gone. And when he was threatening me, even the mountains quaked, as if a mountain god awoke. I was scared out of my wits. What else was I supposed to do but flee? Lin Xianfeng wiped his brow. From the foreboding, feeling the rest were tongue-tied. Someone can actually do that. Take Lin Xuanfeng's hand, without his knowledge, from 1,000 miles away? Everyone, even the audience back in Dragon Cloud City, was horrified. Such creepy ability was beyond the grasp of even a radiant stage expert. Huangpu Qingtian squinted and shouted at Chu Qingqing, "Tell that brat that we will be 10 miles east of here. If you want the brimming, sacred pill back, tell him to look for me. I'd like to see him try taking it from 1,000 miles away." Huangpu Qingtian flicked his hand and left filled with battle spirit. The only one capable of stirring his will to fight may very well be Zhuo Fan in the whole of Tianyu. Chu Qingqing's gang was stunned. A challenge, one handed out personally by the glorious heaven-shaking dragon lord, Huangpu Qingtian. This was the greatest respect any martial fanatic could dream of. Xie Tianshang was practically green with envy. If Huangpu Qingtian had given a challenge to him instead, he'd be bouncing and skipping in joy all year long, taking a deep breath. Chu Qingqing said, "The brat is cold and ruthless, but he is our only chance at winning this. Everyone is going to go and find Zhuo Fan." Yes, Zhuo Fan was their only and last hope. Chapter 283 Reversal. Chapter 283 Reversal. 100-man team was strolling through a dark and gloomy forest. They talked and laughed as if the deadly Beast King Mountain was a mere side show. The youth in the lead looked thoroughly bored, making sure to point out every other step with a long-drawn yawn. He was the fear of all 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, the one and only soaring demonic dragon. Zhuo Fan, ever since he rescued this lot, he was made leader on the spot and was now taking point as they trekked through the woods. These guys were also weak as hell, being from 3rd and 2nd-rate clans. Hardly fast enough to keep up with him. And so he had no choice but to put a brake on things and slow down. The start of the trek was filled with a somber mood, in fear of what was to come. But after a few encounters with 4-5th level spiritual beasts, each punctuated by Zhuo Fan's dirty look, it all changed. They were enraptured by Zhuo Fan's power, bringing not just a little sense of security in this hellhole. It got so bad they were treating the final battle as a sightseeing trip. As long as Zhuo Fan was around, their safety was guaranteed. Relaxation was given at this point. Zhuo Fan wished nothing more than to dump their sorry asses. But with Luo Yinhai having received Duge Zhantian's righteous education, he was forced to bear with these dead weights in their painfully slow search for keys and exits. Honestly, Zhuo Fan wasn't looking for brimming sacred pills, but for a way out. His dearest wish right now was for an exit and keys to get rid of those pests behind him and be home free. Bummer, he was still stuck in this forest, and wasting 5 days on top of that. Not only he didn't find a single key, the exits as well seemed bent on eluding him. Zhuo Fan sighed for the umpteenth time. twisted his head back at the laughing bunch, and snapped, "Cut the chatter. We're not on a tour here. Be more serious and keep a close eye out for any exits or keys. Leave no bush unturned. The faster we find them, the faster we leave this place. You'll be safe then, and I'll be free, got it?" "Yes." A shivering response welcomed Joafan's prestigious order, but gone 3 minutes, and they were at it again. Without danger breathing down their necks every minute of the hour, anyone would chill out and relax knowing their lives were in safe hands. Joafan's mood sank even lower, wishing nothing more than to throw these useless guys to the wolves, or any spiritual beasts for that matter. He couldn't, though, not with the genial and kind Xuan Ningxiang around. Mercy me, since when was I such a softy? Joafan's anger was flaring again. Xuan Ningxiang's charming and sweet smile came just in time, and she placed a bright flowery wreath on him. "Big brother Joa, for you. Please don't be angry." "How could I possibly be angry?" Forcing a smile, Joafan felt like crying. Luo Yinhai almost laughed. He was glad Ninger was here to curb Big Brother Joa's mean streak, or the man be sorting this chilled and disorganized rabble into shape by now, and if one took his cruel methods into account, any shape these guys got into, well, that would have been closer to hell than anything. But the real question was, how many would have gotten out with their lives? Luo Yinhai felt a shiver the moment he recalled the survival rate of Luo clan's guards' training regime. His 10 guards were nothing short of freaks, but they all escaped death by the skin of their teeth. At one point in Joafan's classic disappearing act, Captain Pang divulged the secret of this cruel and inhumane training. When 1 out of 100 elite youths to survive was a genuine cause for celebration, he was scared witless back then. They weren't shaping up guards, but killing machines at Luo clan's beck and call. He was in Duge Zhantian's army for 3 years by then. Although these young guards had uncanny powers now, stauncher than even a general with decades of wars behind him, the cruelty of their training left him devastated. After careful deliberations with his sister, they put a stop to it. Luo clan was no longer welcoming youths to train. He hadn't met with a good opportunity to break this news to Joafan either. More like he didn't have it in him. He was scared for his life that Joafan would flip out and would start cursing him to high heaven. It got so bad that he decided there and then to keep this buried for all eternity. Rustle. The sudden movement from a bush earned Joafan's interest. "Who's there? Come out now or stay dead forever." "Ah, Big Brother Joa, its me." A shy voice followed the appearance of Dong Xiaowan's red face, followed by a sighing Dong Tianba. Every single time his sister saw Joafan, she'd swoon and turn bashful, despite the guy never giving her second looks, and sure enough, Joafan turned to Dong Tianba. It was only Xuan Ningxiang who rushed over and grabbed the girl's hands in joy. "Sister Wani, you're all right." Dong Xiaowan smiled and sneaked a peek at Joafan. "What's wrong? Did you not find any other allies? Then join us, the weak, women, and the children team." Joafan pointed back at the casual rabble. Xuan Ningxiang and Dong Xiaowan giggled. Xuan Ningxiang rolled her eyes. "Big Brother Joa, where are we weak? We 100 even fought back Lin Xuanfeng's 1,000, though we were routed in the end and suffered a miserable defeat." Xuan Ningxiang stuck out her chin, while the said 100 nodded with red faces in a dark, brooding mood. Joafan glared back. "You dare admit it when you're now just a lousy and lazy bunch? Isn't it your fault?" Xuan Ningxiang smiled. Her words were quite sharp. "It's your fault for being so strong. With you being our bastion of safety, we have no reason to even think about fighting." Joafan felt like crying. How does that sound logic? But thanks to Xuan Ningxiang intervening, Joafan readily accepted those words. If it were anyone else, he'd kick him to the moon. Dong Xiaowan looked at Xuan Ningxiang in admiration for being able to poke fun at Big Brother Joa. So casually Dong Tianba shook his head at his sister's infatuation and said in all seriousness, "Brother Joa, I'll be honest. I have been looking for you by the order of Edifice Lord Chu Qingcheng." Joafan felt uneasy. Shouldn't she be out there looking for keys, exits, and brimming sacred pills? What's she doing going after me for? Dong Tianba said, It's not quite correct to say it's edifice, Lord Chu. But Huangpu Qingtian issuing you a challenge. He has a brimming, sacred pill with him and heard of you taking Lin Xuanfeng's hand without even showing yourself. He thus challenged you to try and take the pill from him. So he picked a spot to defend, waiting for me to answer his challenge. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Dong Tianba nodded, yes. Then let the sucker wait. I'll just go get the other 3 brimming sacred pills, the keys, and find the exits. Only then I'll get the last pill from him, and I'll be the true winner. Zhuo Fan grinned. Ha ha ha, we now have time in spades, and you guys need not worry about meeting Regent Estate. So split up and search, particularly for the brimming sacred pill, and you'll be rewarded. Ooh! They cheered, infected by Zhuo Fan's enthusiasm. Dong Tianba was stunned. Wait, Brother Zhuo, won't honoring the challenge make the people call you coward? You're our ally. Don't you care about our reputation? We will never be able to lift our heads in their presence, a laughingstock to the world. We are all waiting for you to bring about a reversal. Fool, just say you didn't find me. It'll work just as well. Plus, what is some lame thing like honor? Help me anyway. Once I get everything, I'll go bitch, slap him good. That's the best way to earn the ultimate victory. So what's all the need to fuss about reversals and whatnot? Zhuo Fan grinned. Finally, in a perky mood. I never ever cared about such empty things in my life. What I can feel and use is what truly matters, ha ha ha. The rest laughed as, well, soaring demonic dragon was unorthodox, that was for sure. Now they saw why he was Regent Estate's headache over the last decade. You think some measly challenge is enough to force one into showing up? For what? Something as ephemeral as honor. While he in fact spits on anything remotely resembling it, he has none to begin with too. So what are you going to do now, huh? Soaring demonic dragon is not your average cultivator. He is the quintessence of demonic cultivation. None saw Zhuo Fan for a coward, despite how it looked. Instead of thinking he was a disgraceful and honorless bastard, they thought of him as a man of courage and deep cunning. He played his enemies like a fiddle. That was how a true leader should act, following him. My future is limitless. Dong Tianba knew Zhuo Fan's character and sighed. I have no choice but to report back to Edifice Lord Chu about your response. But Edifice Lord Chu won't just stand the humiliation and will one day. Hold up, Huangpu Qingtian is challenging me. So if I won't go, she'd only be shamed to have such an ally. What's this stand for humiliation, anyway? Zhuo Fan bemused. Dong Tianba sighed, recounting what happened. To the somber Zhuo Fan, Dong Tianba finished with, in despair, Edifice Lord Chu told us to look for keys and go home. But Huangpu Qingtian's challenge brought about a glimmer of hope, and since you refused to honor it— Fine, I get it. Zhuo Fan dismissed him. His eyes were raging, his fists clenched. Since he started all this, then I will have to finish it. Dong Tianba was in glee, but not for long. What? Zhuo Fan said, next got him shuddering. He'll have to pay dearly for messing with my people. Chapter 284 Whipped. Chapter 284 Whipped. Ever since Chu Qingqing got Huangpu Qingtian's challenge, her team didn't move from their spot, standing right next to the wood exit stone in the lush forest. Only the men under them were running to and fro in search of Zhuo Fan, but even after 9 days, none that returned was bearer of any good news. This only worked to sink their moods even lower, not knowing when they could turn this humiliation around. It couldn't go on for much longer, or their morale would collapse. There was no point by then to drag this esoteric debate out, and going back home would be most advisable. Everyone sighed. Who knew the esoteric debate would be so cruel to them, to put their entire hopes on just one man? The audience beyond the National Elemental Stone were looking quite eager. Be it Drifting Flowers Edifices or Regent Estate, each hoped to see Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan duke it out, to see who was the real victor in this final battle, The Woodstone exit is up ahead. Yeah, Edifice Lord Chu is waiting there with the others. A familiar voice entered their ears. Their eyes lit up and were thrilled to see the Dong siblings leading Zhuo Fan over. Even Luo Yinhai, Xuaningxiang, and many others were there, as well. They were ecstatic as they surrounded them in an instant. Xie Tianyang was thrilled as well in his laughter. Ha ha ha, you're finally here. It's good that you are all right. Ha ha ha. That's how brothers that went through hell acts, happy to see each other. I am so happy I didn't cross thousands of miles in vain. Have no fear. Now that I'm here, I'll make it all better. See how your brother will show you his power and swag. Zhuo Fan smiled and opened his arms as he walked to Xie Tianyang, only to have his hand flicked away as the guy made a beeline for Xuaningxiang and her brothers. Ninger, ever since we separated from the teleportation, I searched heaven and earth to find you. I was worried sick. I'm so relieved you're okay. Xie Tianyang eased a breath that didn't know he was holding. Zhuo Fan's face twitched and snapped his cold eyes on the guy. Xie Tianyang, you didn't even care what might have happened to your dear brother. You a monster? I only care about myself, not you. Snorted Xie Tianyang. The others laughed at their antics. Zhuo Fan was royally pissed, though, wishing nothing more than to kick him where the sun didn't shine. The least you can do is fake it, prick. Is this how a brother acts nowadays? You damn bastard. Clearly don't know the meaning of bros before women. Dong Tianba saw Zhuo Fan sulking and was reminded of Songyu. Ha ha ha, Brother Zhuo. Do you remember our chat in Drifting Flower City? This is the kind of animal a man is. You're just the same, so try to understand. Glaring at him, Zhuo Fan didn't speak his irritation. I'm not some pit pony like you guys. I'm not one to just throw my heart to any woman I see. Dong Tianba laughed, knowing exactly what he was thinking. Sometimes not even you know your true self. Dong Tianba turned to Chu Qingqing and bowed. Edifice Lord Chu, I have found Zhuo Fan. Nodding, Chu Qingqing's eyes never left Zhuo Fan. She walked over with a cold stare. Zhuo Fan felt killing, intent, smacking into him, and saw her approaching with an icy stare. Shivering for some odd reason. Zhuo Fan even felt fear, but he kept his poker face up. Do you know why we looked for you? Chu Qingqing's tone was flat. Zhuo Fan nodded stiffly. Yeah. Then what are you staring at? Go already. It's high time you did your part as an ally and get to work. Chu Qingqing's pitiless stare bore into him. It was so cold it chilled even him. Zhuo Fan didn't reply and simply took flight. He sighed inside after what happened in Dragon Cloud City. Chu Qingqing must be hating my guts. It's better this way. We are only allies, nothing more. A demonic emperor like him was better off casting such burdens off his shoulders. As soon as possible, Zhuo Fan's eyes snapped into focus, vanishing from their sights. As he increased his speed, Chu Qingqing watched him leave with clear anger on her face. He won't even greet me. Xiao Dandan skipped over and said shyly, Sister Qingqing, aren't you perhaps too hard on Darling? What too hard? Nothing good comes out of working with a stone-cold man like him. And you, stop calling him darling left and right. He doesn't deserve to be called that by any woman. Chu Qingqing turned her rage on her and glared. Xiao Dandan jerked in fright. It was the first time she saw the proud Chu Qingqing flaring like that. Then a chuckle came. Ninger, you've been surrounded by an army of 1,000 people. Are you hurt anywhere? Xue Ningxiang showed his worry after having heard what happened to her. Xue Ningxiang brushed his worry off. I'm fine. Big brother Zhuo dropped by and saved us. He even ruined Lin Xuanfeng's hand. With big brother Zhuo around, nothing can touch us. The rest of the newcomers nodded. They wouldn't soon forget how safe they were with Zhuo Fan around. Xie Tianyang's mood soured. That prick is awesome and all, but rotten to the core. How can you stand it? Big brother Zhuo is the picture of modesty, although there are those he has to give a tongue lashing to, but he gets over his anger quite fast. We've all been having a wonderful time around him so far. Xue Ningxiang blinked her delusion-filled eyes what was worse. The others nodded as well. They had been having such a nice stroll through Beast King Mountain over the days that even if they met a 6th-level spiritual beast, they'd even point it out to their sons to observe. They were so carefree, they turned oblivious to the dangers. This would most likely be the only time they ever felt like this. Since the next time they'd come here and meet a spiritual beast, they'd end up as its dinner. To sum it up, it was all by Zhuo Fan's grace that they were so carefree. Xia Tianyang saw the worship in their eyes, the glitter in Xuanningshang's, and cursed inside. Isn't this all on you? With that punk's lousy temper, he'd never waste time with this bunch. Luo Yinhai smiled. Gratified Ninger was there with them. It only stoked Chu Qingqing's range, though. How can he smile to others, but be so damn cold to me? Dong, Tianba noticed, and laughed dryly. Edifice Lord Chu, I have something to say, but it may be inappropriate. Get on with it. Chu Qingqing snapped. Dong Tianba said awkwardly. Edifice Lord Chu, you also know of my past dealings, of wandering from flower to flower, leaving not even the leaves. He trailed off. Chu Qingqing's glare scared him back on track as he explained. Edifice Lord Chu, don't misunderstand, that is all in the past. Now I turned a new leaf, becoming a bastion of nobility and dignity. Then why mention it? Chu Qingqing's icy glare bore into Dong Tianba's confidence. Dong Tianba sweated in fear. Edifice Lord Chu, I just want to say that I may not have achievements, and I'm still ignorant in many aspects, but when it comes to romance, I am unrivaled. The way I see it, Brother Zhuo may be swarmed by lilies, yet only 3 ever caught his eye, and he isn't even aware of it. Oh, Chu Qingqing perked an eyebrow. Go on. Wiping his brow, Dong Tianba said, with my uncanny eyes, I noticed them being Luo Yinchang, Xuanningshang, and you, Edifice Lord Chu. Other women he never cared about, my sister, begrudgingly included. Why am I the last? Chu Qingqing's mood shifted on the spot. Blaming him drifting flowers, edifices sweated harder. Ah, hell has no fury as a woman scorned. A woman wasn't even amenable to take this list of names if she wasn't first. And Edifice Lord Chu was no ordinary woman either, but the leader of drifting flowers edifices. But he still smiled. Edifice Lord Chu, to this is unrelated to your place in his heart. He only has feelings for you 3. Please don't take it the wrong way. Raising an eyebrow, Chu Qingqing nodded, swallowing dryly. Dong Tianba turned serious. Brother Zhuo feels responsible for Luo clan's miss, showing the consideration of a kin. As for having developed into something more, I'm unsure. Chu Qingqing nodded. Zhuo Fan always carried himself with a cold and indifferent air, but he was always good to the Luo clan. He was indeed taking it upon himself when it came to the clan's future. Dong Tianba then glanced at the cheerful Xuanningshang. As for young Miss Xue, she is innocent and naive, a rarity in this world. Brother Zhuo sees her as his little sister, although hard to say if there's anything more between them. Chu Qingqing looked with a lost gaze as a smile crept her lips. She was such an innocent child that even women like her would pity the lass, not to mention some rotten men. Dong Tianba then came to the crux of it all and said fearfully, while Edifice Lord Chu is a woman of character, lofty and refined, deserving of the title Ascending Ice Phoenix. But brother, Zhuo thinks of you as... What? Chu Qingqing asked impatiently. Dong Tianba gnashed his teeth, henpecking him. Chu Qingqing blushed, and a sweet and gooey/sappy happiness infected her heart. Isn't that being whipped under the wife's thumb? That makes me the closest among the 3 in his heart. Chapter 285, Demonic Dragon's Advent. Chapter 285, Demonic Dragon's Advent. Achoo! 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 3 outbursts disturbed Zhuo Fan's smooth sailing. It got so bad that he almost took an unscheduled dive. This had gone beyond mere cursing. They wanted to skin him alive. Who the hell hates me so much? Is it Chu Qingqing? Has her fury outmatched hell's? Shuddering to his very core, Zhuo Fan shook the thought away. He was oblivious that it was totally unrelated to Chu Qingqing, but instead the person responsible was his buddy-buddy brother. In fact, his intention was no different than flaying Zhuo Fan. Thank God he had no clue what Dong Tianba said. Or he'd panic. This guy barely has any talent, yet makes for quite a love doctor. How is it that you know who my heart longs for before even I do? Though he had to admire him for such skill, even when Dong Tianba only skirted the waters and never actually dipped, Zhuo Fan kept on flying in confusion. He soon arrived at his destination and released his discerning field hum. Zhuo Fan's eyes lit up in joy. Huangpu Qingtian, the biggest headache. Wasn't there, it couldn't be better. He'd go in there and remove the pests first, since if they laid a trap, they would harass him to no end. That wouldn't do at all. He now recalled Luo Yunhai's warning. Huangpu Qingtian and company had something special in mind just for him. Lin Xianfeng let it slip when he lost his cool, and Zhuo Fan doubted he was so smart as to make it intentionally misleading. Zhuo Fan took it to heart as well. He may have divine eye of the void as his ace in getting out of almost any situation, but he wasn't about to take unnecessary risks. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall. Zhuo Fan made sure to never make such an elementary mistake as letting power get to his head. Zhuo Fan's figure flashed, and thunder struck the earth the next second. Picking up dust, people turned to look in fright, with only weak third and second-rate clan members around. This loud and out-of-the-blue noise had them on edge, but when the dust settled, they gasped, soaring, demonic dragon, Zhuo Fan. With a twisted grin, Zhuo Fan's eyes glanced over his future victims. I have come as requested for the brimming sacred pill. Where is Huangpu Qingtian? Eldest young master waited for days, so he took young master Yu and young master Yan in search of the other four. Sir, why not wait for them? An honest-to-God man, naive perhaps, spoke up fearlessly. This set Zhuo Fan's worries at ease. His grin grew wider. Am I to understand you stood me up? No, never. It's you. I am quite angry right now, and the consequences are deadly. Zhuo Fan cut him off with his bloodthirsty gaze. Now, who do you think I should kill first? They all felt like crying. You clearly had this idea from the start. But how does this have anything to do with us? Huangpu Qingtian issued the challenge, not us. You didn't just miss the due date, but also saying that we stood you up, that's clearly bullshit. We're just the little guys. Why take it out on us? Think we're easy targets, is that it? Fear swept their hearts as they had long heard of Zhuo Fan's power, be it the taunts he threw at the 7 houses by killing their elders, or through the slaughter of thousands on the fighting stage. Not even 6 dragons and 1 phoenix wanted to mess with him, least of all them. But then the demon came anyway, and to make matters worse, he landed just when the big boss was out on a stroll. Could they take him on? The bitter and resigned faces answered aplenty. The young master, we are just errand boys. It would be a great dishonor to you, sir, if you kill us. Someone spoke up with a calm voice, quite odd when one took in the fearful gazes of the rest bobbed their heads, and gave him a secret thumbs up. This line was a good deterrence to most big shots, since it brought a bad taste in their mouth, hearing rumors about them picking on the weak. The greater the man, the greater the deterrence. Take 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, for instance. As long as one left them be, they wouldn't go out of their way to be heavy-handed on small fries. Not because of their lofty and noble characters, far from it, but because they felt it would become a stain on their pedigree. These guys were so puny, so insignificant, they weren't worth even tying a big shot's shoes, to say nothing of killing them. So, with that educated guess, drawn from Zhuo Fan's reputation being equal to 6 dragons and 1 phoenix, they must be in the clear, probably. A shame they were dead wrong. The likes of Zhuo Fan only had self-interest above all else. Not some useless and ephemeral thing like honor and glory to an unscrupulous man such as him. Appealing to his honor, or lack thereof, was an exercise in futility, since in all his lives he had stomped dead all who had ever tried it. Grinning from ear to ear, Zhuo Fan's cold eyes snapped on the man, and a ripple swept him. His eyes lost their light, and he slumped on the ground. Dead killing with intent. The rest jumped back in abject fear despite the rumor mill going strong about Zhuo Fan. Only after witnessing the true power of Radiant Stage had a dread set in like no other. Zhuo Fan smiled. Whenever I kill, I do it on a whim. There's nothing else to it. As for my reputation and what not, ha ha ha, please, I am but a small steward of a poor third-rate clan. I am far beneath your illustrious names. There's no dishonor whatsoever, even if I tear you all apart. It only worked to make them even more bitter. This punk is a scumbag. Since when could a bloody, rotten, and vile third-rate clan's little steward mock the 7 houses and get away with it? What modesty! He's clearly showing off. Zhuo Fan picked up on their thoughts with a laugh. Yep, I'm grandstanding. And I'm only killing you to relieve my boredom. The kill count doesn't matter. What matters is the entertainment. Who told you to make an enemy out of me? Ha! Bang! As if thunderstruck, their minds went out of commission. They stood there, frozen and lost, scared to even speak. God damn it all! He is a demon who escaped from hell, whose sole purpose is to relieve his boredom. He is a psychopath who has no value for life. Not even those hedonistic disciples from the 7 houses were that bent on a murder spree. This guy has lost it. He's psychotic. The fear was closely working its way up to their tipping point. But Zhuo Fan's last words remained nonetheless. Who told you to make an enemy out of me? It couldn't be a more fitting description. They were all gripped by the fear of ending up another bloody smear on the ground. But in the back of their minds, an obsession was ingrained. None could fight Zhuo Fan. He was out for blood. And that was what Zhuo Fan aimed for all along. He may not get the respect of everyone, but he would get their fear. Humans clung to life, tooth and nail. As long as they feared him, they'd never dare do anything against him, regardless of what plot Huangpu Qingtian was cooking. If he got the help of these simps, he'd foil it when Huangpu Qingtian least expected, while also gifting these helpers of a heart demon. And to make sure the heart demon wasn't going away anytime soon, his eyes flashed and 3 more people collapsed. They were positively despairing at this point. Ha ha ha, how amusing. While we wait for Huangpu Qingtian, I'll take out my boredom on you. Now, who's next? Zhuo Fan broke into his trademark evil grin. The targets of his creepy glinting eyes shivered and crumbled from fear. But there was one who shouted, "Run." That woke them up somewhat. If they didn't flee now, they'd be toyed to death at this point. They all broke out into a frantic scramble to keep their poor lives intact. Zhuo Fan smiled, but didn't budge. He didn't really want to kill them, not that many at least. He merely wanted to drive the fear of the devil in them. Although, to make this play of his more believable, Zhuo Fan took merely 2 steps and killed another 5 bone-tempering experts. The rest thought Zhuo Fan was on the hunt and ran like mad. With so many of them and only one of him, someone was bound to get out alive. Right. Each hoped he'd be the lucky winner. They prayed for it too. Never slowing down for a second, Zhuo Fan cackled from behind, instilling the horrors of what was to come into their very souls. He found them almost out of his sight, but all he did was shake his head. He wasn't an addict getting his fix by killing. It was all so he could shroud them in a thick and unshakable shadow, so that when the time came, they'd foil Huangpu Qingtian's big plan from the inside. Since he drove his point quite clean through, chasing them had lost its purpose, and that guy was right about one thing. Zhuo Fan would never care about some small fries smirking. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, waiting for Huangpu Qingtian, but then he heard a faint, breathing squinting. Zhuo Fan flipped around and snapped, "Come out!" Zhuo Fan moved faster than the other person and grabbed at the target's hiding place. But what he saw left him speechless. Chapter 286. I'll send you to hell together. Chapter 286. I'll send you to hell together. Yen Fu! Zhuo Fan shouted. Yen Fu was Vicious Pill King's prized pupil. When he got Yen Song to work under him, among other reasons, he also threatened Yen Fu's life, ultimately making Yen Song cave. It was obvious how much Elder Yen cared about the kid so, as a good steward. Zhuo Fan was looking for the chance to get Yan Fu to switch sides as well, and bring the master and disciple back together in one big happy family. Though a chance never came. Until now it wasn't like he was swamped with work, but more along the lines of he couldn't find Yan Fu. He lucked out by bumping into him in Dragon Cloud City, but there was no way he could talk to him in front of the 7 houses. That was for sure who'd have ever conceived it possible. The two of them would finally reconnect after many, many years. Though the circumstances were perhaps particularly awkward, to explain his way out of it wasn't either about Huangpu Qingtian finding out he'd be stealing him from right under his nose. What was a little more hatred when there was no love lost between them to begin with, just that it would get this guy in the crossfire and whittle down his life to nothing. Yen Song would never forgive him for this. He never ever owed anybody anything. And the same applied to everyone. Yan Fu found his leg in Zhuo Fan's clutches, but realized the demon wasn't going in for the kill. He looked on oddly and stopped shivering, trying to calm his errant heart, as well scared out of his mind his taunt earlier would earn him a gruesome death. He ducked for cover the instant Zhuo Fan touched down, only to hear him wanting to have a blast at the expense of others' lives. Driving such horror into his heart, he couldn't even move. His only hope was that the demon would leave once he had his fill of killing, who was to know once the dust settled. The demon himself would come after his head? He even found his hidey hole like nothing. It terrified him. But figuring out Zhuo Fan had no intention of harming him emboldened him. Perhaps the death of his master had some part in this as well. Yan Fu stuck out his chin and bellowed at Zhuo Fan, "Humph, you damn demon! I vow to get revenge for killing my master." "And how exactly?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, his mood sinking. Yan Fu gnashed his teeth in humiliation. "Yeah, with my power I can never defeat you. And now I'm in your clutches. Kill me if you have the guts. Let me go see my master. I am unworthy of taking revenge, but the least I can do is go serve him in the underworld." Zhuo Fan nodded inside. The kid is a coward and a lecher, but he is filial to his master, I'll give him that much. I can see why Elder Yin doted on him. Rest assured I won't kill you. As for your master, Zhuo Fan was about to explain, but a sudden noise cut him off. Whoosh. 4 figures landed 100 meters off Zhuo Fan, with Huangpu Qingtian in the lead. The other 3 were Yan Bongyi, Yushan, and Lin Xianfeng. The 3 looked grave, while only Huangpu Qingtian took it easy. But there was no way to hide the raging battle lust in his eyes. "You're here." Huangpu Qingtian said. Zhuo Fan grinned. "How could I possibly refuse young master Huangpu's invitation?" Taking in the dozen corpses around, Huangpu Qingtian said, "You're soaring demonic dragon in name and reality. You won't spare even the weak. Humph, with your strength, you're only shaming yourself stooping so low." Yu Yushan vented his ire. Zhuo Fan just shrugged. "I was only playing around. Don't tell me they're worth crying over." "Of course not, but now that I'm here, if you still want to play, come after me." Huangpu Qingtian shook his head, hardly caring about some lowlives. He then turned to Yan Fu. "Finish the kid off if you want to. Then I'll teach you true power." Yan Fu shivered from indignation. Ever since his master kicked the bucket, he was reduced to being treated like those common 3rd- and 2nd-rate clansmen. And not just Huangpu Qingtian looked down on him. Not even his clan's Yan Bongyi spoke in his defense. "Ha ha ha, I'm a true pariah now." "It won't matter now. For us master and disciple to die at Zhuo Fan's hand is only fitting. At least Zhuo Fan is our enemy. If I would have died because of my clansmen, I'd truly die with regrets." "Forlorn?" Yan Fu sighed and closed his eyes. He may have thought so, but how could he let go so easily after being cast out by his house? His hatred now changed from Zhuo Fan to the same house that raised him. Zhuo Fan nodded inside. He grabbed his neck and hoisted him and spun on his feet. Intentional or not, it just so happened to block Huangpu Qingtian's vision. "Yan Fu, a man of your grief and emotion. Letting you live will make the pain so much sweeter. Hee hee hee. I just love seeing my enemies trudge through life in pain and suffering. I won't kill you now, but if you still yearn for death, come find me. I'll send you to hell, to see the ghost of your master. Zhuo Fan's ended on a heavy tone and a slap at Yen Fu's chest. Out of anyone else's notice, he also slipped a jade in his clothes. Yen Fu's eyes shot wide open. But then he saw Zhuo Fan's vague smile. Remember, if you find life to be too much of a torment, come find me. I'll surely send you off to hell to your master. Zhuo Fan then flung him away. Yen Fu was dirty and wretched. But his eyes lit up and clutched his chest. Huangpu Qingtian looked skeptical. Zhuo Fan, I never knew you for your mercy, especially on a waist. What can I say? I'm a saint. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Everyone rolled their eyes. If you're a saint, then the whole world is filled with demons. Squinting, Huangpu Qingtian played around. Since you don't want to land the final blow, let me help you. Huangpu Qingtian struck a palm at Yen Fu. Yen Fu was rooted in place from fear. As he cried, Yen Fu was useless, true, but he was their waste. Why would the eldest young master kill off one of his own? Yen Fu was close to peeing himself when the almighty strike stopped just an inch off his head. The wind it picked up ruffled his black hair, but also paralyzed him. Squinting, Huangpu Qingtian turned to Zhuo Fan, who watched the strike in interest. Knowing full well what he was doing, he also seemed to encourage Huangpu Qingtian to finish the waist off. As if he was eager to see the allies tearing each other up, Huangpu Qingtian took back his palm. Still staring at Zhuo Fan, was I mistaken? What's wrong? Why stop? Zhuo Fan urged him full of eagerness. Huangpu Qingtian said, he is useless and I want to deal with him as well. But what do you know, I'm also feeling a bit of a saint myself. The two burst out laughing while the four witnesses looked on in fear. These two vile tyrants are that damn rotten to call themselves saints. Humph, degenerates, the both of them. Of course, they kept it to themselves if they knew what was good for them. With heaven-shaking dragon lord and soaring demonic dragon's tempers, these savage beasts would tear them limb from limb, otherwise case in point. One only had to throw a look at forest-fleeting dragons, state, glancing at the one-legged man. The other three knew perfectly well when to keep their mouth shut. Huangpu Qingtian and Zhuo Fan were not ones to take any complaints without dishing out extra punishment, yet they all failed to realize a shadow peering out as they were engrossed in the play. Is that heaven-shaking dragon lord, Huangpu Qingtian? The same one who doesn't care about anyone? Ha ha ha, how amusing, he isn't average at all. But compared to him, Zhuo Fan is more along my tastes as a demonic cultivator. Nice power, good skills, but who is stronger among them? I am not one to pick up trash and take back the loser. Snickering, the shadow spoke as if he was fetching livestock. Who knew Tianyu birthed so many wonderful goods? I didn't waste time coming here. Ha ha ha. Chapter 287, Blindsided. Chapter 287, Blindsided. Well, let's get to it. You must be here for the brimming, sacred pill, I wager. But don't think for a second it's going to be that easy to take it from me. Having dispensed the probing, Huangpu Qingtian snickered as he flashed the storage ring on his finger. Come, show me what you're made of. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and shrugged. Ha ha ha, you take me for an idiot? Fighting on your turf and on your own terms is retarded. Yes, exactly so. Huangpu Qingtian nodded as he boasted. But if not for that, what are you even doing here? And without defeating me, you'll never get this pill. Whoosh! He didn't finish as his ring vanished. Now in Zhuo Fan's hand, Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed golden as he mocked. You were saying... Everyone watched on in shock. They shuddered incredulously at what they just witnessed. Even the ever-calm and stalwart Huangpu Qingtian had a reaction. How did he do that? The observer in the shadows also cried out. What art did this kid use? It's so weird, even I couldn't sense it. Zhuo Fan mocked. I only came for the brimming sacred pill. With that done, bye. Zhuo Fan unfolded his wings and shot into the air before vanishing. The rest were so out of it they couldn't even react. They were in complete fear of his mystical art when they finally did snap out of it. Huangpu Qingtian's face twisted. Toyed around like that never happened to him. Eldest young master. Yu Yushan began. Huang Pu Qingtian dismissed him with a wave and turned to Lin Xianfeng. Give me the ring. Lin Xianfeng hopped over with flattery. The eldest young master is amazing, leaving the ring with the pill in my care. Zhuo Fan would be blowing his top when he finds out all he got was nothing. Ha ha ha. Huang Pu Qingtian was not in the least bit amused of having duped his enemy. He took the ring as he sounded morose. I only did it to not lose the pill. He'd never realize I'd be willing to leave the pill to a cripple, but never thought it would show its worth so fast. Zhuo Fan is not easy to deal with. Clenching his fist, Huang Pu Qingtian spat. Lin Xianfeng was sullen. Huang Pu Qingtian only referred to him as a cripple nowadays. The other two nodded solemnly, but then Huang Pu Qingtian found an eerie breeze pass by him, and when he opened his palm, the ring was gone. Huang Pu Qingtian's heart sank as he raved, Zhuo Fan! Tone it down. What do you want with me, anyway? Zhuo Fan grinned victoriously. As he came from a bush, the three lackeys jumped behind Huang Pu Qingtian in fright. Didn't he just fly off? What's he doing back? Huang Pu Qingtian glared. It was you just now. Yep, what was I supposed to do with a fake ring anyway? Zhuo Fan tossed the two rings around, taunting. Young Master Huang Pu, who knew even you are scared of something, unwilling to give me the true location of the pill, and tried to cheat me out of it instead. Are you perhaps afraid you were going to lose? Huang Pu Qingtian trembled as the rage got the best of him. I never said the pill was on me, just waving my hand around. It's your fault for jumping to conclusions. Ha ha ha, sophistry. Zhuo Fan put the two rings on his fingers and snickered, but I got the pill this time, so I'll be going. For real this time. Later, people. Zhuo Fan was gone. They all watched in shock, coming and going without a sign. Huang Pu Qingtian released his soul sense in fear. Zhuo Fan might be playing another trick, only after he knew the coast was clear. Did Huang Pu Qingtian ease his breath, his mood dangerously low? Huang Pu Qingtian felt horrendous, having suffered so much. He had gone and challenged Zhuo Fan in front of so many people. And what did that get him? Losing the pill faster than he got it. How could he possibly take it at face value? Yu Yushan inched closer to Huang Pu Qingtian in worry. Eldest young master, short-term gains aren't important. Zhuo Fan is too much of a variable with mystical abilities. We need to find a way to deal with his disappearing acts. If we can't trap him, the day we fight he'll take us down one by one while we won't even touch him. We can't have that. The other two nodded. They felt utterly powerless in the face of Zhuo Fan's shifting around unrestrained. It doesn't matter. Huang Pu Qingtian's eyes flashed. Sir Lung already predicted this. Isn't our earlier plan all to deal with him? You mean Yu Yushan said, I see. I'll gather the scattered people and instruct them harder. No. Huang Pu Qingtian waved his hand. Zhuo Fan terrified them. They are obsolete. Just leave them to die on Beast King Mountain. Go after our vassals that are still missing. Have them help instead. They were all shocked by Huang Pu Qingtian's cruelty. These people had only been with them for around 10 days and were quite hardworking. And yet they were cast away like broken toys. Huang Pu Qingtian could tell what was on their minds. Do you know the difference between a help and a burden? They shook their heads. Huang Pu Qingtian mocked. A help assists me in achieving what I want, and a burden works against me. It will one day mean the difference between life and death. The three blinked, still unconvinced. They knew of this, of course, but weren't getting where he was going with this. Huang Pu Qingtian snickered. They would have helped me before in dealing with this spawn. But now they are terrified of Zhuo Fan and will be an inconvenience to us. Letting them participate regardless will pose a grave danger to us, even death. This is why I threw them away. Or would you rather have Zhuo Fan kill you because of some dead weights? They finally understood and looked at him in admiration. Huang Pu Qingtian is the eldest young master for a reason. Such insight, such cunning, like a true emperor. The shadow nodded from afar, pleased by Huang Pu Qingtian's character glancing at them. Huang Pu Qingtian continued. Yu Yushan, weren't you curious why I let drifting flowers edifices group off? Ha ha ha, I'll tell you. Because they are all Zhuofan's burdens. If they die, Zhuofan will be uncontrollable, even to us. But now, with Chu Qingcheng helping us without knowing, we will grasp this chance to deal with him for good. The three gave their thumbs up, even lumped together. Chu Qingcheng's gang was still as weak as if they were alone. While if Zhuofan was left alone, he may one day come to reap their lives using these people to tie Zhuofan down was the best bet. It was such an obvious trap that even Zhuofan had no choice but to jump right in. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes shined, regaining control of the situation. Meanwhile, Zhuofan was cruising the skies, yet didn't feel like a winner at all. He already guessed Huangpu Qingtian's thinking, but he still couldn't get himself to cast aside all those people, and that was the least of his worries. The biggest headache was how easily Huangpu Qingtian could do it, while he found it impossible just now after he let Yanfu go. Huangpu Qingtian grew suspicious of Yanfu. His suspicions had no real reason, and yet he made the prompt decision to attack Yanfu if not for Zhuofan being an Oscar-level actor. Yanfu would have been a smear on the ground. He was cruel enough to kill any doubts than let any mistake slip by. He always watched Zhuofan even as he attacked, but stopped short of killing to not give Zhuofan more reasons to mock him. Other than that, Yanfu would have been totally dead. In this way, one had so many burdens on his shoulders, while the other had nothing tying him down. Zhuofan found himself at a disadvantage in this psychological warfare, having to accept everything he was attacked with. Even though I say the demonic path is cruel and pitiless, going to battle with so many burdens will be hard. I need to get the keys and exits to let them out as soon as possible. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth as he shot for Chu Qingcheng like lightning. Chapter 288, A Hero's Return. Chapter 288, A Hero's Return. Elite Coder. Whoosh! With a crack of thunder, Zhuofan made his entrance before Chu Qingcheng. They all whipped their heads towards him, their eyes glinting. Their entire morale rested on whether or not Zhuofan could bring back the stolen brimming, sacred pill. Jitteriness rose as all eyes took in his prideful stance, keeping them in suspense, and the audience beyond the wood National Elemental Stone was no different. This was the first contact between Zhuofan and Huangpu Qingtian, the strongest duo in this battle. Losing it would plunge their morale to rock bottom, and the only sensible choice would be going home. But it didn't stop there. Their vassals' trust in the three houses would splinter, weakening their image in the populace's eye. It was the worst outcome, as it affected their growth, especially now when an all-out war with the Regent Estates faction was just around the corner. A trickle of sweat fell down grandmother, Long Yaifi, and Xie Xiaofeng's cheeks as the tension spiked. Zhuofan took a deep breath before grinning. He juggled the 2 storage rings and snickered. Now, which ring holds the brimming, sacred pill, you reckon? The words still hadn't sunk in from their momentary daze, but the next reaction was explosive. Everyone cheered. Zhuofan obviously got the pill. Everyone was moved at that point, thinking back a few days ago. Huangpu Qingtian's overpowering might had plunged them into despair. How were they supposed to even face such a monster? But Zhuofan came back victorious, recovering the pill from the clutches of that monster. Such a feat worked wonders for their battered hearts from fear and shame, surging in them the will to fight. Even the ever-composed grandmother showed a rare trace of joy on her features. She turned to her 2 allies and burst out laughing. Dugu Zhantian eased a breath, nodding at the figure beyond the National Elemental Stone. The kid is a loose cannon, but he always comes through when it counts. If it were a war, the act of recovering the pill would instill our army greater morale than any one skirmish could ever do. Feng Qiubai smiled thinly. This only confirmed he made the right choice when he braved in picking him to face Huangpu Qingtian. He was the only one of the younger generation who could achieve it, but then Feng Qiubai caught on to something and brought it to Dugu Zhantian's attention. "Old Marshal, what is that?" Dugu Zhantian squinted and cursed inside. "That punk isn't a pushover in the least. He even dares to go against my orders." In a remote corner, among the 3 allied houses group, Lu Yijin was seen on and off. Cheering esoteric debate only allowed those below the age of 30 to participate. The old geezer was clearly out of the question. Duge Zhantian himself even stated he was going to cut down with impunity any and all cheaters. But wasn't that guy a man of the Luo clan? Ah, Sir Fong, my eyes must have failed me. I can't see anything amiss. Duge Zhantian played the fool. Fong Qiubai laughed. In any case, both of their priorities were skewed in Luo clan's favor. But who'd have thought the old marshal, the one immovable and strict man, would cover for Luo clan? Since when did a friggin' Radiant Stage expert's eyesight go bad? He must really like that 5th godson of his to be this biased. He'd never do this otherwise, not with how righteous the man was. That was for the best, since it was all for his majesty's sake. In protecting Luo clan, one had to be flexible and ignore minor hiccups. Fong Qiubai was worried this would have ruffled Duge Zhantian's feathers. Ha ha ha, it's fine. I just saw an interesting spiritual beast that caught my attention. But since Marshall's eyesight is poor, never mind. Fong Qiubai rubbed his beard. Duge Zhantian blushed, knowing fully well he was teased, so he chose to turn a blind eye. Plus, he vowed this would be the first and last time he'd ever cross his own word. Zhuge Changfeng kept a close eye on Zhuo Fan as a smile played on his lips. Then he gave a long look at Huangpu Tianyuan before chuckling. Ha ha ha, Estate Lord Huangpu, it seems in this skirmish the young master came out at the bottom. Victory and defeat are common in war. It was the steward, unwanted contrivalung, who deigned a response to Zhuge Changfeng's provocation. The way it came at no surprise to the Regent estate, he seemed to have foreseen a long time ago that Huangpu Qingtian would lose. Zhuge Changfeng squinted. Oh, Sir Lung was expecting this, I see. I take it you've taken ample preparation as well. Ha ha ha, you're too kind. I made a fool of myself before Prime Minister with my coarse skills. They are merely useful in dealing with pests. Lung Wucheng's eyes shined. Zhuge Changfeng nodded, returning to watch the national elemental stone, the cheering bunch therein, and sighed. These kids are quick to celebrate. It won't matter if this trifling victory has gotten to the heads of the weak ones. But Steward Zhuo, if even you are taken in by it, I'd be dreadfully disappointed. Zhuge Changfeng watched him hailed by the crowd as a hero. The man in question took the brimming sacred pills vial from the ring and showed it off to all. See here? I've returned triumphant. We see. They all shouted in joy and respect with a wicked grin. Zhuo Fan stashed it into his own ring. Weirding out the crowd, the 8th grade pill was a treasure in and of itself that not even the 7 houses had one. The least he could do was popping the cork to let them catch a glimpse of it. Zhuo Fan merely coughed and changed the subject. All right, the show is over. Break it up. We need to find the other pills and keys. Our goal is to win this esoteric debate. Ugh. They all looked at him with dark faces. Zhuo Fan, are you planning on hogging the pill? Xie Tianyang's face twitched. Zhuo Fan put on a pained look as he cursed. Xie Tianyang, is this how my brother, going through thick and thin, should act? Don't you trust me? Am I one to just hog it to myself? Am I that selfish? Yes. The crowd had spoken. Xie Tianyang said coldly, it's because of the endless troubles we've passed. I know exactly just who you are. Zip it and hand it over. Nothing is safe in your hands, especially that 8th grade pill. The others joined in, but only as a joke. With Zhuo Fan as the strongest there, no place was safer than with him. Zhuo Fan feigned anger. Since you don't trust me, then I'll eat it right in front of you. Besides, I got it back with my own efforts. Try to take it from me if you want it. TCH. They all flicked their hands. Xie Tianyang even went a step further. See that? I know this friggin' guy's character better than I know myself. If hustling is a bust, he just switches to daylight robbery. Not to mention anything that ends up in his hands will never see the light of day. The others cracked up. Xuan Ningxiang was bursting with joy, not caring at all of the value of that bauble the mood made them seem like one big happy family, laughing their troubles away. They seemed to have returned to the peaceful and safe days of All Beast Mountain Range, while back this was all thanks to Juefan. He instilled courage in their hearts, while also dispelling the thick dread Huangpu Qingtian cast over them. It just came to them that even the almighty Huangpu Qingtian wasn't infallible. At the very least, Juefan was there to give them a fighting chance once the cheerfulness passed. The three houses' head disciples began discussing serious matters. Xie Tianshang began. Brother Zhua, you are the strongest here, and also brought the brimming sacred pill back. That makes it yours. The stronger you are, the greater our chances. The rest nodded. They were all quite keen on having it for themselves. But with it being Juefan's spoil, it belonged to him by right. Moreover, a boosted Juefan would give them an edge in getting the other pills out there. This was the best outcome for their alliance. Juefan shook his head, though. I can't, Brother Xie. Did you really think Huangpu Qingtian waited 10 days for me with the 8th grade pill instead of eating it? Just so I could steal it? Xie Tianshang frowned. Juefan smiled. Because he won't dare. What? Came their shocked response, while Juefan explained. It takes a long time to absorb it completely. If an enemy comes in that time, the slightest distraction would render it wasted, if not incur a heavy wound. So before a clear outcome has come from our conflicts, neither side would be willing to eat it. The sudden realization made them look at Juefan in a new light, thanks to his reminder. They could now curb the irresistible lure of the brimming, sacred pill the moment they found it. They were grateful for having avoided death. If an enemy found them in such a vulnerable moment, they were clearly overthinking things, though. Why would Huangpu Qingtian get rid of such delicious bait and help Juefan instead? Not to mention, Huangpu Qingtian was sure to drop by the instant any of them found one and appropriated it. They'd never get the chance to even swallow it. These thoughts left Juefan sighing. The sooner I send them home, the better. Chapter 289, The Second Pill's Location. Chapter 289, The Second Pill's Location. Report. A shout caught their attention. A man was rushing over sweaty and in ragged garments. He fell to one knee before them. Why, young masters, we have found the second brimming, sacred pill's location. They all perked up. Juefan's advice did the trick. But even so, they were still yearning to go out there and get the pill themselves. Was it that easy to just let this chance pass by? It held the promise of getting a new radiant stage expert in their house and increase their power significantly. Then came their united reply. Where? 50 miles out, killing Blood Marsh. The man cupped his hands. He truly rendered a service worthy of a reward. 5 days ago, we were tasked with finding young Master Zhua. By happenstance, we stumbled into a vial of brimming, sacred pill in that place. Whether a coincidence or not, the pill is now deep in the nest of a 3rd-level spiritual beast, Blood Croc. We opted to report rather than risk our lives. Blood Croc. That put a damp on their joyous moods. The Blood Croc was a pack spiritual beast, and very territorial. Despite a mere 3rd-level spiritual beast, their numbers deterred even a radiant stage expert from approaching. The easiest way to establish their strength was to look at how big this nest was. Long Xingyun spoke. How many? Oh, forgive my forgetfulness. It is around 30,000 heads. The man stammered SSS. The shock was easily seen on everyone's faces. 30,000 blood crocs. Not even 10 radiant stage experts or 100 profound heaven experts could come out unharmed out of such a scuffle. Least of all their rabble of 2,000-3,000 men. The instant they charged, the blood crocs would tear them to pieces. Thus, they all turned their heads to Juefan to see his take on this. The man in question was eerily calm, dissing the trouble with a wave. Lead the way. Brother Zhua, you can do it? They looked on in hope with a vague smile. Juefan was playing coy. Ha ha ha, we'll know when we get there. And proceeded to walk southwest. Being all mysterious worked, making the rest follow him in shock. No wonder a puny and forgotten Luo clan reached such a height. This guy was overpowered. He always came through despite adversities, Luo Yinhai. Xuaningxiang and 100 people Zhuo Fan followed him the instant he made a move. For the first two, it was an obvious choice. As for the 100 people, vassals to different houses, they went after Zhuo Fan like sheep after a shepherd besides. What difference would it make if they were behind Luo clan, when the houses they were vassals to were all allies? You should at least go with your master, even if so. They couldn't help it, though, not when Zhuo Fan was a beacon of safety, willing to follow him everywhere with unflinching determination. Too bad the lucky Luo clan had yet to become a house, or these guys would have switched camps on the spot. The kid is taking everyone from us. I can already see how the esoteric debate ends, with half of our vassals willing to follow Luo clan. Long Xingyun sighed. Xie Tianshang shrugged. That's how charisma works. Be it a mighty emperor or just a clan head, they all have to have some amount of personal magnetism. We all do. But in Zhuo Fan's case, while ours is but a mere glint, his shines like a radiant star. Xie Tianshang followed closely as well. Long Xingyun chuckled right behind him. Chu Qingqing thoughtfully watched the prideful and solitary figure in front before coming to the wood exit, was soon barren of people. All going for the killing blood, Marsh, the audience beyond the wood national elemental stone, found the entertainment waning and returned to the seats de Guzhantian provided, all while speculating how Zhuo Fan managed to relieve Huangpu Qingtian of the pill. It was clear by his appearance that no blows were traded. So how the man in question was now taking a stroll. Perhaps the exhaustion of the past few days never left him and only made him grow weary, culminating in this slow pace. Yet it only worked to put Long Xingyun's group on edge. They were itching to get to the killing blood swamp first. It was funny how the esoteric debate of this century had been reduced to an 8th grade pill hunt. Zhuo Fan was not in the least bit hurried, taking his sweet time. While he was at it, he had the others scout the surroundings as they made their way forward the way he saw it. Brimming sacred pill was merely a reward to the winner of this final battle. It made little sense to look for it when the exits and keys held a far greater importance with them on his hands. He had to find a way out, especially for a certain useless bunch. It just so happened to be working fabulously in easing his burden too, so he toned down on his speed, using this time to have the rest search for the keys. Long Xingyun's group found it incomprehensible. They wished nothing more than to charge in and get that 8th grade pill. Big brother Zhuo, I found a key. Xue Ningxiang skipped over in glee. Presenting a red crystal, Zhuo Fan saw the fist-sized red crystal. It was cold to the touch. Telling him this was the Yin key of the fire exit. All he had to do now was find the Yang fire key, and Xue Ningxiang would be home free. Leaving him room to go all out to his heart's content, Zhuo Fan brightened and patted her cute head. Well done, Ninger! Xue Ningxiang giggled, at which Long Xingyun sighed. Miss Xue, finding a brimming sacred pill would be so much better. You won't just be doing a great service to us houses, but even hold yourself in favor. Zhuo Fan merely shook his head. Xue Ningxiang would have none of that. Humph, I won't even go for some mystical pill. That's your delusion. I only care about what Big Brother Zhuo wants. Shuddering, Zhuo Fan looked queerly at her. He never said what was on his mind, even after being in contact for the past few days. Yet Ningyo easily found out what he wanted. While not even his allies could, this genial and harmless lass. Long Xingyun shook his head. Miss Ninger, you're wrong. With how strong Brother Zhuo is, why would he want a bunch of keys? Only cowards would look for a way out. While a man of virtue, like Brother Zhuo, must be far more interested in the brimming sacred pill. Am I right? Long Xingyun turned to Zhuo Fan, talking as if it was the norm. Damn you, of course I want the keys to dump your sorry asses. Stop mooching off of me. Only Ninger truly knows what I want. Zhuo Fan cursed inside, but couldn't refute Long Xingyun's bright smile. Maybe for my reputation's sake, or they'd go calling me coward instead. If I explain it, they'll think I'd be a hindrance and affect our alliance. Zhuo Fan could only nod. Yes, Brother Long makes perfect sense. Brimming's sacred pill is far more important than some keys. Long Xingyin looked smug and taunted Xuan Ningxiang with his eyebrow. She was saddened on the spot, looking at Zhuo like a kicked puppy. I still think I'm right. Big brother Zhuo wants. Ninger, don't feel sad. The thing is this key. Zhuo Fan was frantic in his explanation, but then stopped. A yellow light aimed for his face tended to do that. Zhuo Fan easily caught it and found it to have the same feel as the red crystal, albeit yellow. Zhuo Fan was overjoyed. The metal key. Zhuo Fan turned to look from where the crystal came. Who did me such great service? Explain. But Zhuo Fan twisted his head away awkwardly soon after Chu Qingqing bore her cold haze into him, coming over to Xuan Ningxiang and taking her somewhere. Come, let's go after the other keys. But Big Brother Zhuo said he doesn't want them. Stop paying attention to his hypocrisies. Chu Qingqing snorted. Zhuo Fan felt a cold shiver. There's two of them now. Who can understand me? Long Xingyin was watching the two women perplexed. That's odd. It's normal for a naive girl like Ninger to mistake brother Zhuo's intentions. But Edifice Lord Chu is a refined and ambitious woman. So why is she wasting time looking as well? Ha ha ha, you're asking me? Zhuo Fan let out a dry laugh. Masking the sigh in his heart, he was your typical lone wolf, with hardly anyone catching on to his thinking. But now two women showed up at the same time, defying all logic. Is this the legendary bosom buddy? A chuckle escaped his lips. He, a cold stone demonic cultivator, was oblivious to matters of the fairer sex as a close friend, and yet this feeling ain't bad. Ain't bad at all. Zhuo Fan resumed walking for the Killing Blood Marsh, leaving a puzzled Long Xingyin behind what should have taken 5 days. Thanks to Zhuo Fan taking it easy, they arrived after 10. But not for nothing, considering the riches he fetched along the way. Of the 10 total keys, they found 4, with the metal key the only complete one. All that was left was to look for the metal exit, be that as it may. The slow march had its downside. Someone beat them to it. Chapter 290, Acting Commander. Chapter 290, Acting Commander. Elite Coder. A sudden, red, sandy beach, spread out for miles and miles. All they could see beyond red was more red. And what made it worse was the queasy feeling when the smell wafted into their noses. This was the lair of the 3rd-level spiritual beast. Bloodcroc. This beast left their lair in packs to hunt, then dragged their quarry back to mangle and feast on their kill. This made for a gory sight, as well as the endless gushing blood. This led to their domain soaked in red and made impossible for anything else to grow, hence the name Killing Blood. Marsh, the group, looked amazed. Certain this place was the lair of blood crocs. What was truly baffling was in fact the lack of blood crocs on their way here. Not to mention they took their time with a frown. Long Xingyin voiced his doubt at the scout. Did you actually see any blood croc here, or even the brimming sacred pill? Yes, young Master Long. I'd never lie to you. When I got here earlier, I saw thousands of blood croc, and even caught a glimpse of a vial in their midst. The man pointed. Long Xingyin believed him and pressed on after a quick look at the others, but they soon had to stop again and shudder. Their faces grew grave, and their eyes revealed shock. What's this monster doing here? They were at the edge of a sunken area, with a familiar figure in its center. Despite looking at his back, they had no trouble recognizing him. Too slow. I've been waiting here for ages. Huang Puqing Tian made a show out of turning around and directed a snicker Zhuo Fan's way. I'll let you hog the first pill for now. But the second one is mine, ha ha ha. The faces of everyone sank. Does that mean the second pill already landed in Huang Puqing Tian's hands? How did he find out? He knew our objective and waited us out? Is there a spy among us? The horror of the situation dawned on them. In this perilous area, any internal conflict would have devastating repercussions with a mole within their midst. The dangers would grow exponentially. All of them started looking at their neighbor with a critical eye and became on guard. Any trust they had gone up in smoke. The Tri-House Alliance was on the verge of crumbling. Grinning, Zhuo Fan said, There's no need to doubt. It was I who told him. You! Xie Tianshang was the first to complain and looked at him with thirst for battle. Why? Rolling his eyes, Xie Tianyang provided the explanation. Big brother, that's him talking nonsense. With him being the strongest, if he wanted to be a spy, he'd have done it from the start. Why waste time with this convoluted ploy? Then Xie Tianshang didn't get it. Luo Yunhai chuckled. Big brother Zhua is trying to say that doubting each other will be buying into the enemy's trap and make us weaker. We will talk later about the spy matter. Now it's time for all of us to unite and fight. They all nodded and attached greater importance to Luo clan. The sinister and deceitful Zhua Fan wasn't the only one with a full grasp of the situation. Luo clan's future clan head was also wise. He lived up to his name as the fifth godson of Dugujantian. Taking this into account, Luo clan's rise was imminent. The three houses' top disciples nodded in praise as well, although the Luo clan had ridiculous growth over the years. So much, so they felt scared. They were nonetheless eager to see what would become of this fledgling clan. In the eyes of the crowd, the clan head and servant glowed with unprecedented brightness. Big brother Zhua, something's off here. Luo Yunhai glanced at his surroundings as he whispered to Zhua Fan. This place is prone to ambushes. We need to be extra cautious. Nodding, Zhua Fan gave the area a once-over. In your eyes, how do you think they'll do it? A frontal assault with a pincer move, followed by an ambush from behind. Luo Yunhai's eyes were firm. Convinced of seeing through the other's scheme, Zhua Fan smiled. You've learned well from that old geezer. You haven't let me down. You and your team deal with the back ambush, while I will handle the front. Zhua Fan then shot forth with a calm look. Luo Yunhai was startled, then nodded. He knew the frontal assault was the enemy's main force. What Zhua Fan chose was the hardest and most dangerous mission. Then again, recalling Zhua Fan's dreaded power and mystical abilities, Luo Yunhai set his mind at ease. Where is Zhua Fan going? Xie Tianshang was left clueless, as were many others. He was about to chase when Luo Yunhai stopped him. I ask of you all to listen to my orders, lest we be routed. After the shock subsided, they looked at him in derision. They all admired Luo Yunhai, but not to the point they'd be in awe of this young man who lacked the almighty power Zhua Fan had, which among these future house lords would ever let a runt tell them what to do. If there was anyone from Luo clan who they'd ever accept, it would be Zhua Fan, but letting a tyke boss them around. Humph! All he got was snorts. Luo Yunhai's face grew grave, knowing there was nothing else he could do. Every aspect of him, be it experience or power, lacked in making these houses' geniuses trust him, let alone listening to him. But it was at this crucial moment a cold, yet charming voice echoed, "Is it Zhua Fan's decision?" Luo Yunhai looked up startled, to see Chu Qingqing's cold and critical eye. He nodded. She looked back at the man's imposing figure walking in front of them and sighed. Then what is your plan? That got a reaction out of the crowd. The grand edifice Lord Chu is actually listening to a damn kid. You may fancy Zhua Fan and want his favor, but don't go throwing away drifting flowers' edifice's reputation. Surely they all hung on Zhua Fan's every word. The mighty soaring demonic dragon could fight toe-to-toe with Huangpu Qingtian, no? So what reason did they have to treat a brat the same way? The other two houses refrained from commenting to Xue Ningxiang, the world's #1 innocent, more like delusional missus. The intricacies this decision held to the other houses went right over her head as she shouted, Yunhai, I'll listen to you. You got us out of that impasse last time. You may not be on Big Brother's level, but you're still stronger than these guys who only know how to lose. Restraint was not in Xue Ningxiang's vocabulary, making Long Xingyun and Xie Tianshang's faces aflame. Ever since they came to Beast King Mountain, they hadn't won once, nor lost with dignity, and that was the truth of it. All they ever achieved since coming here was a big fat nada. They felt ashamed even more now, with Xue Ningxiang there to poke their wounds. It also had something to do with Xie Tianyang being her shadow, safeguarding her every step of the way. If it was any other vassal clan, even with sword Marquis Abode's amiable stance, they'd still get a trashing would any lord allow their vassal to act like so. Ninger, don't say that. Leave them with some dignity. They were all on the same side after all, practically brothers. Xie Tianyang had to curb Xue Ningxiang's willfulness. He then turned to Xie Tianshang. Big brother, all of us house disciples are usually focused on cultivating. Fighting alone is out of the question. But when it comes to joining a team, it's best we leave it to Yunhai. If I know that Punk Shuofan well, he never did things he wasn't sure of. So let's go along with his decision. Luo Yunhai nodded in gratitude at Chu Qingqing, Xue Ningxiang, and Xie Tianyang, then turned nervously to Xie Tianshang. Xie Tianshang squinted, but gave his consent. What would you have us do? Luo Yunhai was overjoyed. He finally had sword Marquis Abode's support. Long Xingyan saw how two of his allies caved and shrugged, in lack of a better option. Since Drifting Flowers edifices and sword Marquis Abode approve, I will also listen to you. Luo Yunhai was excited. He had now become the Tri-House Alliance's acting commander. He had the power to move thousands of people, that of the Li houses and their vassals, as long as Huangpu Qingtian didn't butt in. He was certain nothing could stand in the way of him and his army. Luo Yunhai put on a serious face and spoke. From my discussion with Big Brother, we've concluded that we are surrounded. We will have to break through the encirclement. Listen up, everyone. The vassals are to split in 3 groups. Those belonging to each houses, the Drifting Flowers Edifices Division will form a column, awaiting my order to attack our behind. The other 2 will form our flanks as we move in tandem. Keep cool and don't break formation as you fight. Be mindful of your position in the formation to not let it crumble. Luo Yunhai shouted with confidence. He knew full well that Zhuo Fan was the sole reason they listened. But come the aftermath of the battle, he was certain their views will change. My 5 years in the army weren't a waste. Luo Yunhai vowed. Chapter 291 Charge. Chapter 291 Charge. Zhuo Fan went over to Huangpu Qingtian, his gait casual, his tone calm, just like seeing an old pal. Young Master Huangpu, since this is the 2nd round, you should have told me. Where's the pill, then? Ha ha ha, please. It'd be the same as dangling the brimming sacred pill in your face. Now that I've seen what Steward Zhuo can do, let's see you try getting it now. Huangpu Qingtian raised a taunting eyebrow. Zhuo Fan shook his head. There was no point in doing anything, not when he had no clue of the item's location. Young Master Huangpu, since you won't tell me, take it as my loss this time. Let's meet again in round 3. Zhuo Fan waved and was about to retreat. As if scared, Huangpu Qingtian snickered. Steward Zhuo, I admit that I have no way of stopping you from leaving, nor do you have a way of stopping me, but I can't say the same for them. Hinting at Luo Yunhai's army, Huangpu Qingtian snickered with a light clap. Furious roars filled the marsh, storming for the group of allies from both sides. Just as Luo Yunhai predicted, the attack was formed of 2 armies, led by Yan Bongyi and Yu Yushan, respectively. There was no sign of Lin. Xianfeng the guy was double the cripple, true, but a profound heaven expert regardless. He wasn't about to miss out on springing an ambush with such an obvious answer. Luo Yunhai easily predicted the guy was waiting for them to retreat in his direction. Nice. You live up to the name of Tianyu's 5th tiger. Xie Tianshang showed his admiration. His opinion of Luo Yunhai grew a notch. The same went for the others, if not for Luo Yunhai's tactic. The sudden charge of so many enemies would have crushed them where they stood. Some would chose to flee and run into Lin Xuanfeng's team, sealing any means of escape. Luo Yunhai may be weak, but his art of war was leagues above anyone from 6 dragons and 1 phoenix. Luo Yunhai just shook his hand. The praise didn't get to his head as he kept his cool in dealing with the sudden dual charge. Listen up. Only act when I give the signal. They all nodded, fully trusting Luo Yunhai. Huangpu Qingtian watched it all with a smile. Steward Zhuo, Your allies look positively rooted in fear. They huddle together like lambs, about to break, flooded by my men. Isn't it what you wanted anyway? Zhuo Fan smiled back, completely confident of Luo Yunhai's ability squinting. Huangpu Qingtian felt something amiss. His side had 10,000 men doing the charge and even laid down an ambush, while the Tri-House Alliance numbered 3,000 at best, outnumbered 5 to 1. With them holding the field and numerical advantage, anyone would think this battle was in the bag. So what did Zhuo Fan base his confidence on? Huangpu Qingtian would find out soon enough. Kill! With an earth-shaking roar, Luo Yunhai pointed behind him and his army followed Yan Bongyi. And Yu Yushan's armies were stunned in bafflement. We haven't even made contact, so why are they charging behind? The ambush hadn't sprung yet either. The two were oblivious to its meaning and took it as a good thing. Regardless of what trick they pulled, it would only work to show a hole in their formation. This will make things easier, killing them down to the last man. The two only grew excited in their charge. How could they have known their crass assumption couldn't be farther from the truth? Luo Yunhai's army did charge, but its flanks did their job in keeping the center shielded. Despite the flanks clashing with the enemy, they showed no weakness in their defense, as they also didn't engage in a heated fight, moving with the center's charge, as well Yan Bongyi and Yan Bongyi's armies found themselves in the worst situation. They felt as if each man was facing 5 people. Just as they attacked the front, a sudden retaliation came from the back. The Tri-House Alliance moved like the sea, crushing the enemy armies in waves. Amidst the turbulent waters, Yan Bongyi and Yu Yushan found their numbers culled. As for the lucky survivors, they landed far behind the battle. Looking on at the endless strings of corpses left by the alliance's charge, they had the numbers. They had the flanking. But now they had the biggest losses. While Yan Bongyi and Yu Yushan looked positively glum, Huangpu Qingtian gnashed his teeth. You've got your ass handed to you, even when 5 to 1. Just what do I keep you idiots for anyway? Yu Yushan's back tingled from Huangpu Qingtian's seething bloodthirst, and he gave the signal to Lin Xianfeng. A 3-pronged attack ought to save them from a gruesome and cruel death, no. But as Lin Xianfeng eagerly led his 5,000 men to beat someone when they were down, he heard a loud boom and his army was blown away. Luo Yunhai's vanguard, drifting flowers edifices, was mowing his men like grass. His only reaction, slack-jawed. What the hell? Weren't we supposed to catch a fish in a barrel at this point? Why the hell do I still see them, holding strong? How the hell does a huge fish like this just slip right past you? Yan Bongyi and Yu Yushan, are you more useless than manure? What are you doing letting a pristine army charge here? How am I supposed to stop them? While he was here cursing his allies, the duo cursed right back. You damn cripple! Is this how you lead an army? Are your men meant as cannon fodder? I don't expect you to stop them, but you could at least curb their charge somewhat. Your 100% garbage is what you are. You got what was coming to you when soaring demonic dragon took an arm and a leg. As the trio cursed each other like no tomorrow, Luo Yunhai had no problem punching his way through the encirclement. Zhuo Fan laughed from pride. When it came to armies, ambushes were the norm. This couldn't have been a better test for the fledgling marshal. The way Luo Yunhai set his army was the typical echelon formation, excelling in counter-attacking the pincer attack and allowing high mobility. This formation puts a price on speed above all else. Once it was formed and picked enough speed, nothing could stand in its way. Zhuo Fan flicked a grin to Huangpu Qingtian. Young Master Huangpu, my guess is that it wouldn't be so hard for them to get away. Face twitching, Huangpu Qingtian looked ahead with a scorching gaze. He wished nothing more than to kill those 3 wretched allies of his. The reason for one's defeat wasn't an unbeatable enemy, but wretched allies. Those morons have higher numbers, yet were still smacked around. All they managed to do is drag my reputation through the mud. They're nothing but utter imbeciles. Taking a deep breath to quell the surging anger, Huangpu Qingtian laughed coldly. Ha ha ha, Steward Zhuo is erudite in pen and sword. You've had this planned all along. No, there was no planning. They did it all by themselves. One must give credit where it's due, and not take it for oneself. Zhuo Fan cut him off with his snide remark, which only got Huangpu Qingtian even more worked up. Zhuo Fan's deceitful character was common knowledge, so losing to him was hardly shameful. But those 3 sods of his lost to the likes of some broads from drifting flowers' edifices. To make matters worse, it was the tyke from Luo clan, leading them with his allies having lost any semblance of dignity. It was quite sensible for their leader to blow a gasket, grating his teeth and fuming mad. Huangpu Qingtian's face took on a vile tone. Steward Zhuo, I never wished to drag them into this. You leave me no choice but to— What? Go and snap their necks yourself. Ha ha ha. You'll have to go through me first. With his trademark evil grin, Zhuo Fan's urge for battle flared. Huangpu Qingtian nodded. Our fight is foreordained. But first, let's see if you can save them. Huangpu Qingtian's eyes flashed with cruelty and roared at the sky. Ooh! Shockingly enough, Huangpu Qingtian's mere shout sounded closer to a dragon than a human. Zhuo Fan squinted, but his reply was a calm gathering of eerie power in his eyes. That dragon roar was a special martial art, just like his wraith style. They both originated from dragons. But no man could ever release a dragon's roar. Short of being a dragon himself, Zhuo Fan shook that thought away, finding it utterly ridiculous. A true dragon had the power of at least Gu Santong despite being called monster. His might had yet to shed the realm of mortals. So why then? Zhuo Fan's train of thought was cut off when the earth rumbled with a dreadful sound.